12 most terrifying archaeological discoveries of all time that even top scientists were amazed by. Hello, and welcome to the Ancient History channel, where we explore the mysteries of the past together, stories that history has not only recorded in words, but has also hidden within them chilling and almost unbelievable elements. Today, we are about to embark on a very special journey to uncover the 12 most iconic archaeological discoveries of all time. Discoveries so disturbing that even horror filmmakers would admit defeat. You see, sometimes artifacts, tombs, or abandoned ancient cities tell stories that feel as though they belong only in movies. Some of these findings have even forced archaeologists to question beliefs, religions, and, at times, the very nature of ancient humanity itself. And today, I will guide you through each discovery in detail, from caves filled with mysterious paintings to mummies that still bear eerie, otherworldly traces, so that together we can experience the strange intersection between history and genuine fear. Are you ready? If you are, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join me as we begin our journey into the world of archaeological discoveries that send chills down your spine, yet remain impossible to look away from. Starting right now. 56 children's remains in a cemetery reveal one of the most terrifying sacrificial rituals of the Chimu civilization. Did you know that the ancient world is both mysterious and fascinating? Some archaeological discoveries not only send chills down our spines because of their brutality, but also force us to stop and reflect on the beliefs and fears of people in the past. The child sacrifice cemetery of the Chimu civilization, lying quietly along the coast of Peru, is one such haunting story. Why is that? Because archaeologists uncovered a very unusual burial site here. The final resting place of 56 children between the ages of 11 and 14, along with the remains of 30 young llamas. All of these remains have been dated to approximately 1200 to 1400 AD, meaning they are about 600 years old. What truly unsettles researchers is not the number of bodies, but the purpose behind these deaths. These were not accidents nor the result of disease. Instead, they were the outcome of deliberate sacrificial rituals carried out to plead with the gods to end a series of devastating natural disasters caused by the El Niño phenomenon. Imagine the scene at that time. Torrential rains pounding the coastal region, floods washing away crops, saltwater ruining farmland, and the entire community pushed to the brink of collapse. Faced with the overwhelming power of nature that they could not control, the Chimu people believed that only the greatest possible sacrifice could calm the anger of the gods. And terrifyingly, that sacrifice was their own children. This site belongs to the Chimu civilization, a powerful pre-Inca culture that once flourished but later declined. It is located in the Huanchaco district, near the coastal city of Trujillo in northeastern Peru. Professor John Verano, an anthropologist from Tulane University and a member of the research team, stated that there is substantial evidence showing this was not an ordinary children's cemetery. Marks on the bones, burial methods, and the broader archaeological context all clearly point to a deliberate sacrificial ritual. What makes this story even heavier is the fact that families from different social classes voluntarily offered their children. The children were simply wrapped in cloth, with no grave goods and no farewell rituals. This reflects a deeply hierarchical society in which religious belief could outweigh even blood ties. To them, this was the price that had to be paid for the survival of the entire community. And the discoveries did not stop there. In April, scientists uncovered an additional 140 children's bodies and 200 more young llamas, located just a few miles from this site. These growing numbers inevitably raise a disturbing question. How many small lives were buried solely out of fear of nature? In fact, child sacrifice was not uncommon in ancient Peru. This practice existed across multiple civilizations, including the famous Inca Empire. As for the Chimu, they developed as descendants of the Moche culture along Peru's coast beginning in the first half of the 14th century. At one point, the Chimu Empire was the largest power in the region before it was conquered by the Incas. The Chimu people lived in a vast desert strip stretching roughly 19 to 100 miles wide, wedged between the Pacific Ocean and the Andes Mountains. To survive, they built massive irrigation systems, developed agriculture, and established large cities. It was a complex, highly organized civilization, but also one deeply haunted by spiritual beliefs. Now, as these small skeletons are brought into the light, they tell more than just a story of a brutal ritual. They remind us of the price humans were once willing to pay in their struggle against nature. In your opinion, in such a desperate situation, did ancient people really have any other choice? I believe they probably did not. That is why they felt forced to do this. Just thinking about it already makes you feel how heartbreaking it truly was. Prehistoric human bones in a 5,000-year-old tomb in Scotland. Amid the windswept fields of the Orkney Islands, where sea and stone have intertwined for thousands of years, the earth itself has begun to tell a story, one that compels us to slow down and listen. This is not a legend or a rumor, but an ancient stone tomb that lay silently undisturbed for 5,000 years, until it was awakened in the summer of 2023. And what awaited archaeologists beneath the cold layers of soil was not merely bones, but traces of a prehistoric family, evidence of human bonds that transcended time. The excavation took place in Holme, East Mainland, in the Orkney Islands of northeastern Scotland. Here, archaeologists uncovered a stone burial chamber dating back roughly 5,000 years BCE, belonging to the Neolithic period. The structure immediately astonished researchers due to its remarkable scale and sophisticated construction techniques. The tomb measures approximately 49 feet in diameter, reinforced by carefully stacked stone walls so solid that they remain clearly visible after millennia. This is considered an architectural feat, reflecting a level of planning and craftsmanship far beyond what was once imagined for prehistoric people in northern Britain. Deeper inside the chamber, the research team discovered a total of 14 human skeletons, including men, women, and children. Yet the most emotionally striking sight was that of two adult skeletons lying closely together, positioned as if embracing, with the remains of two children placed above their heads. It is a silent scene, devoid of words, yet it speaks volumes about family bonds, about how people of that era confronted death, and perhaps even about their beliefs in an afterlife. Consider this for a moment. In an age marked by scarcity and hardship, what led them to choose such a burial arrangement? Few people know that the story of this tomb actually began more than a century ago. In 1896, an old newspaper recorded that the son of a farmer in Orkney had accidentally discovered signs of an ancient burial monument on farmland in Holme. Over time, however, this information faded into obscurity. It was not until 2020 that Hugo Anderson Weimark, a senior specialist in early prehistory at the National Museum of Scotland, happened upon the article while reviewing archival documents. Guided by professional intuition, he believed there was more beneath the ground than history had yet revealed, and he decided to return to the site with colleagues. After extensive surveys, the official excavation began in the summer of 2023, opening a new chapter in Orkney archaeology. Although much of the tomb had been damaged in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, when local residents removed stones for farm construction, archaeologists were still fortunate to recover skeletons that were remarkably well preserved. This is extremely rare, as even in well-maintained ancient tombs, human remains are often disturbed or degraded over time. Vicky Cummings, co-director of the excavation, emphasized that this extraordinary level of preservation offers an invaluable opportunity to study the daily life, spiritual beliefs, and social structure of prehistoric people in Scotland. To date, only 12 other similar tombs have been identified in the Orkney Islands. This type of burial structure is known as a maze house-style passage grave. However, those 12 tombs are located above ground and differ significantly from this nearly intact 5,000-year-old tomb, which remained largely buried and undisturbed beneath the earth. Despite lingering evidence of past stone removal and looting, these new discoveries promise to help scientists gradually unravel the mysteries of Neolithic culture and religion. And perhaps, through these silent skeletons, we may come to better understand ourselves today. If so, wouldn't that be fascinating? 125-million-year-old fossil preserves skin and fur of a prehistoric mouse. Imagine this, a tiny creature that lived alongside the dinosaurs, died 125 million years ago, and yet today we can still see its skin, fur, and even traces of disease. How extraordinary would that story be? Of course, this is not science fiction, nor a legend. It is a real discovery that shook the modern scientific world, originating from what once seemed like an ordinary mine in Spain. Rewinding to 2011, at the Las Hoyas quarry near the city of Cuenca, a team of fossil hunters from Madrid University uncovered the skeleton of an ancient mammal called Spinolestes xenarthrosis. At first glance, it was no bigger than a common mouse, but the scientific value of this find was anything but small. The fossil was preserved almost perfectly, astonishing scientists when they realized it retained not only the bones, but also soft tissues such as ears, lungs, liver, and especially a coat of fur covering its body. In paleontology, finding fossilized soft tissue is extremely rare. Usually, only bones and teeth survive millions of years. That is why Spinolestes immediately became one of the most important discoveries. It allowed scientists to see the true appearance of Mesozoic mammals, rather than just guessing from dry bones. The deeper scientists studied it, the more surprising details emerged. First, the fossilized skin showed signs of fungal infection, indicating that this tiny creature suffered health problems before it died. This may sound simple, but it is invaluable evidence that skin diseases existed very early in mammalian evolution. Have you ever imagined that a mouse living alongside dinosaurs could get illnesses similar to modern animals? I didn't think so at first, but this discovery proves it. Spinolestes also had a formidable defense system. Along its lower back, researchers found rigid spines, likely a natural weapon to fend off predators. In the dangerous world of its time, Spinolestes faced creatures like Pelecanimmus, a 1-meter-long ostrich-like animal with sharp teeth. These spines could detach when attacked and pierce a predator's mouth, giving the mammal a chance to escape. In addition to the spines, Spinolestes had small scales on its back, similar to the primitive armor of modern armadillos. This reveals the incredible adaptability of early mammals, which developed protective layers to survive in a dinosaur-dominated world. According to Professor Thomas Martin, who studied the fossil, the reason Spinolestes was so well preserved is due to a bacterial layer that formed just hours after its death. This biological membrane encased the entire body like a natural armor, slowing decomposition of the soft tissues long enough for fossilization to occur. Spinolestes belong to the triconodont mammals, measuring about 9.5 inches long and weighing around 2.5 ounces, primarily feeding on insects. Despite its small size, it became the first evidence that soft tissues in Mesozoic mammals could be preserved. It is fascinating that from a tiny creature, Spinolestes tells a vivid story of life 125 million years ago, when dinosaurs ruled the world, yet small mammals quietly existed and evolved alongside them. Don't you think that is incredible? Rare fully intact treasure, found in a 2,600-year-old tomb in Italy. Have you ever wondered what stories might lie inside a tomb that has remained untouched by human hands for more than 2 millennia? If not, let me take you to Italy, where, in a land that was once the cradle of many brilliant civilizations, archaeologists accidentally opened such a time capsule. It is an Etruscan tomb dated to around 2,600 years ago, so well preserved that it stunned the scientific community. During excavation, experts discovered that the tomb was carved directly from stone, modeled to resemble a small house. This detail alone reveals how the ancient Etruscans viewed the afterlife as a continuation of earthly life. Inside, the scene resembled an ancient bedroom, with 4 skeletons neatly laid on stone beds, silently telling their story after thousands of years buried underground. Of course, what makes this tomb extraordinary is not only its architecture, but also the sheer number of artifacts found within. Experts uncovered over 100 artifacts surrounding the skeletons, ranging from finely crafted pottery, weapons, and bronze jewelry to small but valuable silver hair accessories. Each item acts as a piece of a puzzle, helping to reconstruct the daily life, social status, and spiritual beliefs of the people buried there. Looking at these objects, one can sense the prosperity and reverence the living held for the dead. Preliminary research indicates that the 4 individuals buried here were 2 men and 2 women. They may have been a family or closely connected members of the Etruscan community. Scientists are continuing to analyze the skeletons to learn how they lived, their health, and even the possible causes of death. These findings promise to provide a more vivid understanding of Etruscan life over 2 millennia ago. The most astonishing aspect is that this tomb has never been looted. Many other Etruscan tombs in the region suffered varying degrees of plundering over the centuries. That a tomb from the 7th century BCE remains nearly perfectly intact is considered extremely rare in archaeology. Archaeologist Davide Zori of Baylor University even emphasized that a completely sealed tomb like this is an invaluable discovery for studying Etruscan civilization. To fully appreciate the significance of this find, we must consider the historical context. The Etruscan civilization once flourished in central Italy, reaching its peak around the 6th century BCE before the rise of the Roman Republic. Through numerous wars, the Romans gradually conquered and eventually assimilated the Etruscans into their empire by the 1st century BCE. Today, every surviving Etruscan site is like an ancient book, helping us better understand the civilization that laid the foundations for the mighty Roman Empire. With enough patience and a passion for discovery, modern humans can still listen to the whispers of time echoing from deep underground. So, which of the more than 100 artifacts do you think will reveal the most about the Etruscans? And could upcoming studies change the way we understand this once glorious civilization, long overshadowed by history? Personally, I am eagerly anticipating what archaeologists will reveal about this remarkable culture in the near future. The 5,000-year-old white stone tomb and observatory on the Lover's Rock. You've probably heard of ancient wonders like the pyramids of Giza or Stonehenge, mysterious structures filled with unanswered questions. But have you ever heard of La Peña de los Enamorados, the Lover's Rock in Spain? If not, here's a glimpse. It's a massive rock formation reaching 2,900 feet high, hidden in the sun-drenched, windy lands of Andalusia, about 285 miles southwest of Madrid. What makes it extraordinary is that, from a distance, the rock resembles a giant sleeping figure, creating a scene both poetic and mystical, as if a fairy tale had been frozen in stone amidst the breathtaking natural landscape. Yet the impressive sleeping giant is only the tip of the iceberg. Deep within its chest lies a secret buried for thousands of years, an ancient tomb locals call the White Stone Tomb. Once merely a historical landmark and a stop for archaeology enthusiasts, the tomb recently became the focus of a scientific excavation led by Professor Leonardo Garcia San Juan from the University of Seville, revealing astonishing truths to the world. Professor San Juan explained that the tomb was not just a burial site, but also an early astronomical observatory, an ancient scientific structure used to observe the sky, track seasonal cycles, and support religious rituals. Around 3000 BCE, the people who lived here carefully positioned each stone with incredible precision, aligning them with the sun's movements and significant astronomical events such as the equinoxes and solstices. Inside the White Stone Tomb, researchers found ancient megaliths deliberately arranged, along with contemporary ceramic artifacts, showing that the tomb served as a long-term center for spiritual and astronomical practices. The most shocking discoveries include 45 teeth and 95 bone fragments, evidence of an ancient burial ritual where bodies were placed on stone platforms, and after decomposition, their remains were moved to a back area as part of the ritual. Around 2500 BCE, the tomb was expanded with 2 additional stone niches, possibly the resting place of a high-status man and woman. But the story doesn't end there. Archaeologists later found that the tomb had been modified again, with its entrance sealed by large stones and the remains of at least 2 children and 3 other women added. Over 3 continuous phases of use, this structure became a living record of prehistoric life, beliefs, and death, until it was completely sealed between 1950 and 1180 BCE. What amazed researchers most was the perfect architectural precision. Stone floors were aligned so that sunlight enters deep into the tomb exactly on June 21st, the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. Sunlight shines into a chamber deep inside the tomb, like a sacred ritual to honor the sun god. A triangular stone firmly embedded in the floor points directly to the sunrise, a clear indicator of the ancients' deep understanding of astronomy. The largest megalith was placed with perfect accuracy, as if the entire tomb were a giant stone clock where time, light, and spirituality are united. The Lover's Rock, once a symbol of tragic love and legend, now also represents ancient wisdom, reminding us that thousands of years ago, humans already looked to the sky to understand themselves. Imagine this: our ancestors, using stone, light, and belief, built one of the earliest astronomical structures in human history, leaving us a mystery still waiting to be unraveled today. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. A humble Nile tomb reveals sacred rituals and the pharaoh's religious secrets of ancient Egypt. If you've always believed that the pharaoh's religion was something imposed from palaces, rooted in the absolute power of Egypt's kings, the story below may make you rethink that assumption. Deep beneath the hot, dry sands of the Nile Valley, at an ancient cemetery called Adaima, scientists have traced a completely different truth. One showing that Egyptian divine authority did not fall from the sky, but gradually grew from the everyday burial rituals of ancient rural communities. Specifically, a study published in the Journal of Archaeological Method and Theory surveyed over 500 tombs at the Adaima Cemetery. The results surprised archaeologists. The origin of pharaoh religion did not arise from the decree of kings or priests, but rather emerged from the simple burial practices of ordinary people. This challenges the long-held belief that pharaohs, with their image as living gods, mediators between humans and the divine, were always the central figures of Egyptian religious life. Adaima is not a pyramid-era necropolis. The site was used between 3300 and 2700 BCE, long before pharaohs consolidated power and built the grand monuments along the Nile. Here, in a seemingly ordinary place, local funerary customs quietly formed the core elements of the later state religion. Under the guidance of archaeologist Ameline Alcouf from the University of Toulouse, the research team discovered that many tombs at Adaima were arranged with remarkable precision according to astronomical phenomena. This was no coincidence. It reflects the ancient Egyptians' deep understanding of the sky. Among the tombs, the most striking is Tomb S166, a burial that sends shivers down the spine of anyone who hears its story. Inside, the remains of a young woman were found, her left arm ritually severed and carefully placed on her chest. The tomb itself is oriented to the sunset on the winter solstice, while the coffin aligns with Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, signaling the annual flooding of the Nile. Imagine, for a community reliant on the river, how profoundly sacred it was to link death with the movements of the cosmos. Tomb S166 is not alone. Two other tombs reinforce this astronomical pattern. Tomb S837 holds a woman buried with fine jewelry and a broken ceramic vessel, hinting at symbolic rituals. Tomb S874 is aligned to the summer solstice, containing the remains of a woman with a staff and a wig made of fibers, showing shifts in astronomical focus over time. The research team calls these exceptional burials cultural hotspots. From these focal points, surrounding tombs gradually arose, forming early sacred sites, akin to the first temples in the communal consciousness. From places like these, collective beliefs were nurtured, developed, and eventually institutionalized under the pharaohs. To date, over 900 tombs have been discovered at the 30-hectare Adaima Cemetery, making it one of the earliest and most thoroughly studied burial sites of ancient Egypt. From these silent graves, one fact becomes clear. Egyptian religion did not start at the throne. It began from the earth, from the sky, and from the faith of ordinary people living along the Nile in antiquity. This is a perspective strikingly different from the traditional view of ancient Egypt, isn't it? 220 pounds of gold discovered in a shallow well in China. What seemed like an ordinary morning in a small village on the outskirts of Xi'an, China, where life usually flows at a slow, familiar rhythm, suddenly became the center of global archaeological attention. Local villagers, digging a shallow well to find a new water source for their community, had no idea they were about to witness one of the most spectacular archaeological discoveries of the century. Beneath the seemingly lifeless soil, a massive treasure unexpectedly emerged. Over about 220 pounds of pure gold, carefully buried for thousands of years. The news spread rapidly, leaving the small village in shock and soon attracting archaeologists and experts from across the world. The site itself was far from obscure. It had once been the center of multiple ancient cultures, a crossroads of history, trade, and commerce in early China. This made the discovery far more than just finding gold. It opened a window into the deep mysteries of a prosperous ancient economy dating back more than 1,800 years. When the excavation was conducted systematically, what researchers found left them astonished. The gold was cast into cake-shaped ingots, a design that was far from random. Each ingot weighed between 8 and 9 ounces. The remarkable uniformity of these gold pieces indicates that Han Dynasty gold casting techniques had reached a sophisticated level, reflecting the precision and meticulous financial management of the time. These gold ingots were not merely treasures, they were currency, tangible evidence of the Han Dynasty's thriving commercial system, one of the most powerful and influential dynasties in Chinese history. Experts note that gold in the Han period was not only stored as wealth, but also used in daily transactions, functioning much like paper money or credit cards today. Casting gold into small ingots made it easier to transport and exchange, demonstrating that the Han economy was not solely agricultural, as often assumed, but closely linked to trade, commerce, and large-scale financial control. What makes the story even more intriguing is why such a large amount of gold was buried in a shallow well in the middle of a village. Archaeologists suspect that during the late Han Dynasty, when society was unstable and political power was shifting, particularly during the fall of the Han and the rise of the three kingdoms of Wang Mang's regime, people feared their assets might be seized or looted. To protect their wealth, they chose to bury the gold. Over the centuries, the gold cakes became covered in dust, and the story was forgotten, until today. Currently, archaeologists continue to study the site, tracing the exact origins of the treasure and the identities of those who once owned it. Although many details remain uncertain, this discovery sheds new light on an important chapter of ancient China's commercial and economic history. At the same time, it serves as a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries lie right beneath our feet. All it takes is a bit of luck and the right stroke of a shovel to change the course of history. A 30-year-old naturally mummified cat. Many of you may already know that thousands of years ago, the ancient Egyptians were renowned as masters of mummification. According to their experience, for a body to avoid decomposition, a strict combination of factors had to be met: the right chemicals, ideal air humidity, and a tightly controlled environment. Missing even one of these conditions, and the body would quickly decay over time. Because of this, many people assume that a fully dried body without any preservation treatment is nearly impossible. Yet, such an extraordinary phenomenon has appeared in everyday life, in Wigan, Lancashire, England. In what seemed like an ordinary storage shed, a dried cat corpse is believed to have lain undisturbed for about 30 years, showing no signs of decomposition and without any use of embalming chemicals. The unusual discovery was made by Adam White. While cleaning the old shed with his son, he spotted a dry, rigid object with a strange shape. At first, Adam assumed it was an old wooden ornament left behind by the previous homeowner. Considering the shed was dusty and largely ignored, this seemed a reasonable explanation. However, upon closer inspection, Adam realized something was amiss. When he saw the small exposed teeth and the characteristic rib cage, he immediately recognized that this was not a decoration. It was the remains of a real cat. Remarkably, the cat's entire body had dried and curled up, but retained nearly its original shape. Surprised by the discovery, Adam quickly photographed the cat and posted the images online, hoping to find the cat's former owner. What he did not expect, however, was that the photos would attract the attention of mummification experts. After reviewing the images, experts were astonished. The cat showed no signs of decay, no foul odor, and no rotting tissue, as would be expected in a normal corpse. According to their assessment, the mummification occurred entirely naturally. The shed had likely created an ideal environment: dry, well-ventilated, extremely low humidity, and few bacteria. These factors caused the cat's body to lose water rapidly, preventing decomposition and turning it into a naturally mummified specimen. Based on its current state, experts estimate that the cat had remained in the shed for roughly 30 years without being discovered. Incredible, isn't it? This discovery has led many to wonder, how many similar mysteries might exist around us, still waiting to be uncovered? Perhaps nature quietly operates under rules far beyond ordinary human understanding. And if even a small cat can become naturally mummified in such a strange way, then the world undoubtedly still holds countless phenomena that leave us amazed. 3 ancient Egyptian tombs reveal the hidden world of the elite in the New Kingdom. Can you imagine this? When the dust of time was swept aside at the ancient Dra Abu el Naga cemetery near Luxor, Egypt, archaeologists uncovered a mysterious ancient world through 3 tombs over 3,000 years old. belonging to important figures in Egyptian society during the New Kingdom. These were not the tombs of powerful pharaohs. Yet it was thanks to these elites, who played essential roles in religious and economic life, that the machinery of ancient Egyptian society ran smoothly. The three men buried here each held key positions in temples and grain storage facilities, critical components for the prosperity of the country along the legendary Nile River. Among the three tombs, the most prominent belonged to Amun-Epet, a man who served in temples or estates dedicated to Amun, the supreme god associated with the ancient city of Thebes. He lived during the 19th dynasty, roughly 1295 to 1186 BCE, a peak period in ancient Egyptian history when power stretched from Syria to Sudan. The murals inside Amun-Epet's tomb vividly depict scenes of banquets, funerary goods, and funerals. These images not only showcase wealth, but also highlight the significance of funerary rituals in ancient Egyptian religious belief. The other two tombs are even older, dating back to the early 18th dynasty, 1550 to 1295 BCE, reflecting different aspects of the elite class. One belonged to Baki, who oversaw grain silos, a strategic position in Egypt's agricultural economy, where grain served not only as a staple food, but also as a key medium of exchange. The final tomb belonged to a man named S, who held multiple roles related to record-keeping and oversight in the Temple of Amun. His burial illustrates the deep connection between religion and administrative power in New Kingdom society. A particularly notable feature, highlighted by archaeologists and experts, is that all three tombs contain a small inner courtyard, a common element in New Kingdom tomb architecture, especially for non-royal tombs in the Theban necropolis. Catherine Slinger, an Egyptology lecturer at the University of Manchester, explains that these courtyards were more than empty space. They held important ritual significance, often used for funerary ceremonies or commemorative festivals. In some cases, these courtyards may have been shared among neighboring tombs, forming a communal area for the spiritual activities of the living community. The discoveries at Dra Abu el Naga do more than illuminate the lives and roles of the elite in ancient Egyptian society. They provide a vivid window into the religious, economic, and social world over 3,000 years ago. These were people without royal titles, yet they played crucial roles and were carefully interred along the Nile. This demonstrates that in the heart of legendary Egyptian civilization, power and respect were not reserved solely for the pharaoh. They were also afforded to those who quietly kept the nation functioning. Through every painted wall and buried artifact, these secrets are gradually being uncovered, telling the vibrant story of a dazzling era in human history. The 1,800-year-old tomb of the warrior who died twice. In the peaceful fields of the English countryside where a Roman villa once stood, archaeologists unexpectedly uncovered a mysterious tomb that continues to baffle researchers today. This tomb is not only the resting place of a man who lived nearly 2 millennia ago, but it also raises unanswered questions about ancient beliefs, funerary rituals, and even the fears surrounding the return of the dead. The man buried here was a young adult, approximately 21 to 25 years old, laid carefully in a stone-built tomb, a rarity for ordinary people in Roman society at the time. Beside him were a sword and a silver brooch, items that clearly indicate he was a warrior or held a position in the military. The cloak he wore in death further confirms that he was a respected member of his community. However, his face-down burial posture quickly turned initial assumptions on their head. Unlike 3 other nearby tombs from the same period, where the deceased were traditionally laid on their backs following Roman customs, this man's body was buried in an unusual and deliberate position. Large iron nails found near his neck, back, and feet suggest he may have been tightly bound and possibly executed before death. Examination of his bones and teeth also revealed that he had suffered a serious ear infection, which may have contributed to his death or at least left him weakened and vulnerable to marginalization within his society. Dr. Evan Chapman, lead archaeologist from Amgueddfa Cymru, National Museum Wales, explained that the way he was buried led the team to believe he experienced 2 deaths, one physical and one spiritual. His soul effectively sealed according to ancient beliefs. The nails and face-down position may have been a ritual meant to prevent the dead from returning, a common binding practice in ancient folk beliefs designed to protect the living from restless or vengeful spirits. Yet the team is puzzled by the paradox. Although treated as a potential spiritual threat, he was still buried with his sword and prized possessions, as if those who interred him both feared and respected him. They did not discard, cremate, or dishonor him as they might a traitor. Instead, they built him a careful and ceremonial tomb, while simultaneously sealing him beneath earth and stone to contain something beyond their control. Was this young man a rebellious hero, a cast-out warrior, or a victim of misunderstood ancient ritual? Beneath the layers of time, his story remains an unsolved mystery. Perhaps it is precisely this combination of honor and curse, the coexistence of respect and fear, that makes this tomb one of the most haunting and challenging archaeological discoveries of recent history. The special shoes of the kneeling archer in Qin Shi Huang's tomb. When people think of the famous terracotta army of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, they are usually impressed by the soldiers' imposing presence, lifelike facial expressions, and meticulously detailed weaponry. But have you ever considered that what astonished scientists after more than 2,000 years was not a weapon or armor, but a pair of shoes? Yes, it was the shoes of a kneeling archer, the only soldier among thousands whose shoe soles are clearly visible, that opened a new window into the high craftsmanship of the Qin Dynasty. The Terracotta Army, accidentally discovered in 1974 by a group of farmers digging a well on the outskirts of Xi'an, China, has long been regarded as one of the greatest archaeological wonders of the world. Life-sized figures, equipped with real weapons and arranged in military formation, symbolize the absolute power and strategic vision of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China in 221 BCE. Yet it was not until half a century later that the shoes of one soldier became a focal point. A research team from Sichuan University not only analyzed every detail of the shoe, but also recreated an exact replica using the same techniques and materials that ancient craftsmen had employed. The results were astonishing. The shoes were not only flexible and soft, but also exceptionally stable. The soles were woven from mulberry fibers, layered, glued, stitched, and tightly pressed, demonstrating craftsmanship comparable to modern technology. Researcher Cha Na explained that holding the replica allowed her to clearly visualize each stitch piercing the fabric, creating orderly, durable seams. The toe of the shoe had the densest stitching, followed by the heel and the arch, an intelligent design based on weight distribution and the soldier's movements. Remarkably, the absorbent material in the heel helped the wearer move efficiently on wet, slippery surfaces, a critical factor on the battlefield. This was more than just a pair of shoes. It was a combat tool. The stability and flexibility they provided likely contributed significantly to the Terracotta Army's reputation for invincibility. The design reflects a deep strategic mindset. From weaponry and military organization to every step soldiers took, every detail was carefully calculated. To date, only about 2,000 terracotta figures have been excavated, a small fraction of the tens of thousands still buried beneath Xi'an. And if even a small detail like a pair of shoes contains such secrets, imagine how many stories are yet to be uncovered. More than just a burial site, the Terracotta Army is a living archive of ancient Chinese society, where exquisite craftsmanship matched military might. The kneeling archer's shoes, once considered a minor detail, have become a symbol of perfection in every step of a magnificent empire. Fascinating, isn't it? A 600-year-old bronze mirror reveals a hidden image of Amitabha Buddha forgotten in a museum. Among the countless artifacts quietly resting in museum storage, some objects appear so ordinary that they can easily be overlooked. Yet sometimes, a single ray of light is all it takes to awaken a secret hidden for hundreds of years. The story of an ancient bronze mirror at the Cincinnati Art Museum is exactly such a moment, where light accidentally revealed the image of Amitabha Buddha after 600 years of slumber. For decades, this mirror was simply considered an old Chinese artifact. Its last exhibition was in 2017. During her research, Dr. Sung asked her team to shine direct light onto the center of the mirror. When the light reflected off the mirror, it revealed an image of Amitabha Buddha surrounded by rays of light. This miraculous Buddha-shaped mirror, also known as a transparent mirror, was first crafted during the Han Dynasty, 202 BCE, 220 CE in China. Due to the difficulty of production, These mirrors are extremely rare. The Shanghai Museum previously housed several mirrors made during the Han Dynasty, but experts have only recorded 2 miraculous Buddha-shaped mirrors. Both of these artifacts originate from Japan. One is currently on display at the Tokyo National Museum, while the other is at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Experts explain that these magical mirrors are so rare due to the complexity of their manufacturing process. A UNESCO article once described these mirrors as being made from bronze, with designs carved on the back. The reflective surface is convex and polished. Finally, the artisans applied a mercury-based liquid to highlight the images. When the mirror is held at the correct angle to light, the copper reflects the light, revealing secret images such as Amitabha Buddha, as seen in the discovery at the Cincinnati Art Museum, a truly fascinating find. 12 archaeological discoveries in China, more terrifying than horror movies that shocked the world. The gold-filled tomb of a feudal-era female superhuman. You may find it hard to believe that in the heart of modern-day Nanjing, China, a recent archaeological discovery has sent shockwaves through the scientific community and history enthusiasts alike. A 500-year-old tomb dating back to the Ming Dynasty has been unearthed, and its occupant is none other than Lady May, an extraordinary woman whom the media has respectfully dubbed a female superhuman of the feudal era. Why is she called a female superhuman? Because what Lady May accomplished in her lifetime went far beyond what was considered normal for a woman living half a millennium ago. According to inscriptions carved on 2 stone stelaes found inside the tomb, Lady May was once one of the 3 wives of the official who governed the vast region of Yunnan in China at the time. However, after her husband's sudden death, while their eldest son was still underage, she stepped forward on her own to shoulder the responsibility of both the family and the territory. She took over her husband's duties, managing affairs and maintaining social order during a period of turmoil. Not only was Lady May a capable administrator, she was also recognized as an outstanding strategist. Historical Chinese records show that she offered many crucial military recommendations that helped preserve peace and stability in Yunnan, a region that was frequently threatened by rebellious tribes. More than that, she earned not only the admiration of the people, but also the caution and respect of opposing forces. When Lady May passed away in 1474 at the age of 45, the entire region of Yunnan mourned her deeply. She was laid to rest with great ceremony and reverence, honoring an extraordinary woman who had once carried the weight of an entire region during a turbulent chapter of history. After centuries of silence, her tomb has now resurfaced, astonishing researchers with what remains inside. Although time and water seepage caused parts of the tomb's structure to deteriorate, Lady May's remains were found to be remarkably well preserved. What truly stunned researchers, however, were the items of jewelry discovered within, from exquisitely crafted perfume containers and solid gold hairpins to bracelets, rings, and ornaments inlaid with rare jade and rubies. All of these artifacts reflect Lady May's noble status, immense wealth, and refined aesthetic taste. Yet behind the glittering brilliance of gold and gemstones, Lady May's life was also marked by profound sorrow. Records indicate that she married at the age of 15 and remained with her husband for the rest of his life. Her greatest loss, however, was the death of her son, Mu Zong, who passed away at just 10 months old, shortly after her husband's death. This devastating loss forced Lady May to face immense challenges alone, leading her to guide both her clan and the vast territory her husband left behind. Today, the discovery of this tomb holds significance far beyond archaeology. It opens a window for future generations to better understand the role and status of women in feudal Chinese society, a society long believed to be strictly patriarchal. Lady May stands as vivid proof that, regardless of circumstances, talent and strength of character can shine and leave an enduring mark on history. At present, experts continue to conduct meticulous research on Lady May's remains to gain deeper insight into her life, health, and the mysteries that still surround this remarkable woman. It is hoped that in the near future, scholars will be able to provide the most accurate answers possible. 27 ancient tombs containing jade-covered human remains in Xi'an, China. When mentioning Xi'an, Shanxi Province, China, and exploring ancient mysteries, many people immediately think of the thousand-year-old capital, a place where layers of history overlap one another. However, Few would expect that beneath the ground, which seems to have already been thoroughly excavated, countless secrets still remain, secrets powerful enough to make archaeologists hold their breath. A striking example of this came recently, when an international archaeological team, led by the Xi'an Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology, made a remarkable discovery: 27 mysterious ancient tombs, opening an entirely new chapter in understanding the wealth and power of ancient people in this region. What drew researchers' attention was not only the number of tombs, but more importantly, what was found inside them. Among the 27 tombs, 4 stood out as significantly larger, with a scale and structure that clearly indicated their occupants were far from ordinary individuals. And then, when the final layer of earth was carefully removed, the entire team was left nearly speechless by what appeared before them. They found human remains completely covered in jade burial suits, each suit assembled from approximately 2,200 small pieces of jade, meticulously woven together from head to toe. Just imagine, more than 2,000 years ago, how much labor, how many resources, and how many skilled craftsmen would have been required to create a single jade armor like this. To be honest, it's almost impossible to imagine. Jade was already an extremely precious material, and using it to fashion burial garments for the dead speaks volumes about just how high the tomb owner's status must have been. Based on this, archaeologists believe these tombs were very likely the final resting places of nobles or warriors of exceptional rank, individuals who were held in near absolute reverence by the society of their time. According to ancient Chinese beliefs, jade symbolized not only power and wealth, but was also thought to protect the body and preserve the soul, granting a form of immortality. Wrapping the remains in jade was not merely an act of display, but a reflection of deep spiritual beliefs about the afterlife. In other words, the living prepared a luxurious travel kit for the dead to continue their existence in another realm. Notably, beyond the overwhelming jade burial suits, researchers also uncovered small ceramic figurines inside the tombs. Although modest in size, these figures are considered extremely important. Scientists believe they may hold the key to identifying the true identities of the tomb occupants, who the figures represent, what rituals they were used for, and what spiritual meanings they carried. All of this may offer valuable insight into the inner spiritual world of people who lived around 2,000 years ago, during the Han Dynasty. At present, the excavation of the 27 tombs is still in its early stages. Archaeologists hope that as research continues, they will gain a clearer understanding of burial customs, funerary rituals, and social structures during the Han Dynasty. Even so, this discovery is not an isolated case. Previously, a similar jade burial suit was found at Xishan Mausoleum in Henan Province, suggesting that this practice may have been reserved exclusively for the highest elite of ancient society. You see, every tomb that is opened places another missing piece of history back where it belongs. And when these jade-clad remains are revealed, they do not merely tell a story about death. They whisper of power, belief, and the grandeur of a civilization that once shone brightly. If you were standing before such a scene, what would you think? Is it the ultimate display of luxury, or humanity's ancient attempt to grasp immortality itself? The gold-filled tomb of an exiled emperor. There are figures in history who seem to pass by in the blink of an eye, yet when we look back, we are stunned by how much weight their legacy actually carries. Liu He, the 9th emperor of the Han Dynasty, one of the most illustrious dynasties in Chinese history, is one such case. He ascended the throne for a mere 27 days before being swiftly deposed by imperial decree from the Empress Dowager, due to a lifestyle that was deemed decadent. An emperor who barely had time to settle into his seat before being forced to step down. Just hearing it already sounds tragic, doesn't it? After his removal from power, Liu He was exiled to a remote region, far from the center of political authority. His life came to an end at just 33 years old, an age when many people are still dreaming about their future. One might assume that a deposed emperor would leave behind nothing more than a modest grave. Yet, to everyone's surprise, it was precisely this tomb that left archaeologists utterly astonished. Liu He's tomb is located in Jiangxi province and was officially discovered by archaeologists in 2011. Initial assessments date the tomb to 74 BCE. Remarkably, even though the excavation is still ongoing, more than 20,000 artifacts have already been unearthed. That number alone is staggering, especially considering that the majority of these items are made of gold or are objects of extremely high value. Preliminary research conducted by the Jiangxi Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology has gradually revealed a striking fact. Despite being exiled, Liu He still possessed an enormous fortune. This has led many to question whether his so-called fall from favor existed only in political terms, while his material wealth and influence remained largely intact. Among the many precious relics, one discovery has drawn particular attention from scholars. It is a broken lacquered screen found in the main burial chamber of the tomb. After an extensive and meticulous restoration process, two portraits emerged on the screen. What has sparked the most debate is the possibility that one of these portraits may be the oldest known depiction of Confucius ever discovered. If this hypothesis is confirmed, the historical value of the find would be almost impossible to measure. But the discoveries do not end there. What has truly made scholars restless is the unearthing of more than 5,000 bamboo slips inscribed with classical Confucian texts. Among them is a unique version of the Analects of Confucius, a work long believed to have been lost for thousands of years. Just imagine, a foundational text that generations of scholars have known only through later transmission, now appearing in its original form from within an ancient tomb. The impact of such a discovery is almost indescribable. Currently, scientists are using infrared imaging technology to continue studying these bamboo slips, hoping to recover more content that has faded or deteriorated over time. Who knows, there may still be hidden philosophies, records, or historical details that have never been mentioned in any existing texts. No matter the outcome, the discoveries from Liu He's tomb not only shed new light on the life and legacy of a tragic emperor, but also help confirm and enrich our understanding of ancient Chinese civilization. And given the current pace of excavation, it seems very likely that this tomb still holds many unanswered mysteries waiting to be revealed. So if it were up to you, what do you think will emerge next from this treasure trove that has been sleeping beneath the earth? Let me know your thoughts by leaving a comment below this video. The mysterious burial blanket covering the body of Empress Dowager Cixi. When speaking of the history of the Qing dynasty in China, one of the most powerful figures that cannot be overlooked is Empress Dowager Cixi. She was not only renowned for her immense influence within the imperial court, but also for the far-reaching decisions she made, one of which was the meticulous preparation of an extraordinarily grand mausoleum for herself. Yet behind this magnificence lies a mysterious story involving priceless treasures and a shocking tomb robbery that, to this day, remains unresolved. In 1908, when Empress Dowager Cixi passed away, she was laid to rest at Dingdongling Mausoleum, located in the Malanyu Mountains in Zunhua County, Hebei Province, China. This was far more than a simple burial site. It was a monumental tomb complex filled with valuable treasures that Cixi had carefully prepared for her afterlife. Golden coffins, precious jewels, pearls, and countless rare artifacts were all meticulously arranged, creating a hidden world of luxury that few could have imagined would later become a prime target for grave robbers. That shocking event took place in July 1928, when Sun Dianying, a notorious warlord of the Republican era, led a group of tomb raiders in breaking into Empress Dowager Cixi's mausoleum. They looted countless priceless treasures, leaving behind traces that would haunt history. However, amid the devastation, Sun Dianying's group left behind one remarkable object: the burial blanket covering Empress Dowager Cixi's body. The blanket measured approximately 32 square feet and was embroidered with 25,000 characters of the Dharani Sutra, all stitched with shimmering gold thread. Even more astonishing, the blanket was originally adorned with 820 exquisite pearls. What is truly puzzling is that although the tomb robbers removed every single pearl, they left the blanket itself completely intact and undamaged. This raises an enduring question: why was such a priceless artifact spared? Was it because they failed to recognize its immense historical and cultural value, or was there another reason, one that we still cannot explain today? It is difficult to say, but precisely because of this mystery, the burial blanket of Empress Dowager Cixi has survived to the present day. Conservation experts are currently carrying out restoration and preservation work on the textile in recognition of the immeasurable historical and cultural value it represents. If one were to say that this blanket is a symbol of Empress Dowager Cixi's power and extravagance, a living witness to the many mysteries of Chinese history, that would not be an exaggeration at all, would it? Massive treasure, hidden inside an ancient pagoda. On an ordinary afternoon like any other, 3 innocent children were searching for birds' nests within the grounds of an ancient pagoda in the Ruiguang area of China, completely unaware that they were about to stumble upon one of the greatest archaeological treasures ever discovered in Chinese history. One accidental slip, one curious glance, and suddenly, the world seemed to fall silent before the breathtaking scene revealed beneath the earth. A treasure valued at approximately 50 billion yuan, or about $7 billion US, was unexpectedly brought to light. It was not gold, silver, diamonds, or ancient coins. Instead, this treasure astonished both archaeologists and religious scholars alike with its profound sacred significance and extraordinary craftsmanship. At the center of the discovery stood a reliquary pagoda nearly 1,000 years old, crafted from rare non-mu wood and adorned with more than 40,000 pearls, along with countless precious materials such as gold, silver, sandalwood, and the sacred 7 treasures of Buddhism. Even simply viewing images of this pagoda, one can feel an overwhelming sense of reverence and awe at the level of devotion and artistry involved. The structure of the pagoda commands deep respect from even the most seasoned architects. It is divided into 3 main sections: the Mount Sumeru pedestal, the Buddha chamber, and the finial spire, each carrying profound symbolic meaning within Buddhist philosophy. The Mount Sumeru base is octagonal, representing the 8 directions of the universe, and is decorated with gold-gilded auspicious clouds, statues of the 4 heavenly kings holding weapons, and most strikingly, a 9-headed silver dragon coiled around a column rising from a gold-painted sea. It feels as though the spiritual and material worlds merge seamlessly through every intricate detail. At the center of the Buddha chamber, the very heart of the pagoda, rests a pale blue vessel containing 9 relics. Not everyone understands what relics are, but in Buddhism, they are sacred pearl-like remains formed after the cremation of enlightened monks or of the Buddha himself. These relics are not merely religious symbols. They are believed to be miraculous manifestations of virtue and wisdom, capable of emitting light, possessing diamond-like hardness, and carrying a sacred radiance that not everyone is fortunate enough to witness. This mysterious beauty only adds to the extraordinary nature of the discovery. In an era when humanity is increasingly disconnected from the spiritual world, it is deeply symbolic that such a profoundly sacred treasure was discovered by 3 children. It is as if the universe itself were sending a message. The sacred still exists. Modern humans have simply forgotten how to perceive it. Beyond the relic pagoda, the treasure trove also includes hand-copied Buddhist scriptures, woodblock prints of the Lotus Sutra, and numerous ancient artifacts, each bearing the imprint of a brilliant civilization that once flourished here. No one can explain why this entire collection was hidden so carefully inside an ancient pagoda, remaining undiscovered for centuries. Perhaps the ancients intentionally preserved it as a sacred legacy for future generations, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. This discovery holds not only immense material value, but also raises profound questions about humanity's past. Did ancient civilizations truly reach levels of cultural, artistic, and spiritual achievement far beyond what we have imagined? Did the creators of the relic pagoda possess knowledge that modern humans still cannot fully comprehend? And most importantly, how many more treasures remain asleep beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? More than 6,000 ancient tombs beneath a modern park. At first glance, it may sound like an exaggerated story made up for entertainment, but this is in fact a real discovery that has left archaeologists in China deeply unsettled. During the construction of a technology park in the southwestern part of Chengdu City, Sichuan Province, workers initially began digging the ground to build a symbol of the future. However, the deeper they dug, the more the past began to emerge. Beneath what seemed like lifeless soil lay more than 6,000 ancient tombs, resting silently for thousands of years. What truly makes people widen their eyes is not just the sheer number of tombs, but the fact that they do not belong to a single historical period. Instead, these tombs span multiple eras, from the Warring States period through the Qin and Han dynasties, and continuing all the way to the Ming and Qing dynasties of ancient China. In other words, this single plot of land served as a burial ground for human beings for more than 2 millennia. Just think about it. Dynasties rose and fell one after another, yet this land continued to be chosen as a final resting place across countless generations. Isn't that fascinating? Even more striking is that most of the tombs were either carved directly into small rock faces or constructed with bricks, featuring clear layouts and careful design rather than crude workmanship. Inside, archaeologists found tens of thousands of ceramic fragments and stone artifacts, scattered yet orderly, as if the ancients had deliberately arranged them to leave a message for future generations. The deeper the excavation went, the more details were uncovered, revealing that this was once a burial complex of considerable scale and thoughtful planning. Beyond the tombs themselves, the research team also unearthed more than 10,000 artifacts of various kinds, including ceramics, bronze objects, jade, glass, and culturally significant items such as gold-plated bronze knives, Buddha statues, and numerous small figurines with finely detailed craftsmanship. Each artifact lifted from the earth feels like a fragment of memory, helping to reconstruct both the spiritual and material lives of people from the past. Based on the internal designs of some of the tombs, archaeologists believe their occupants were very likely members of the aristocracy. These tombs were not merely places of burial, but expressions of social status, belief systems, and views of the afterlife. This naturally raises an intriguing question. Why did aristocrats from different dynasties repeatedly choose the same area for burial? Was it pure coincidence? Or was this land once considered sacred, possessing unique feng shui or spiritual significance? The more discoveries are made, the deeper the mystery becomes. Even now, many questions remain unanswered. These uncertainties are precisely what make the excavation site so captivating. Each layer of soil removed reveals a new possibility, a story that has never been told before. According to Zhuo Jiqiang, a researcher from the Chengdu Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology, these discoveries are of extraordinary importance. They help build and expand our understanding of burial practices, rituals, and funerary concepts during the late Han Dynasty and the turbulent Three Kingdoms period. Put simply, this site is like a living history book, where earth, tombs, and ancient artifacts come together to speak and retell the past. Horrifying scene. Inside a 5,000-year-old imperial tomb in China that left experts in tears. A strange and deeply striking archaeological discovery has recently been made by experts in Wangzhuang, Yangtze, Henan Province, China. It is a massive and magnificent ancient tomb dating back approximately 5,000 years, along with more than 350 valuable artifacts unearthed at the site. But what makes this tomb one of the most remarkable discoveries in recent years? The tomb is believed to be the final resting place of an extremely important figure, possibly an emperor of an ancient civilization. With its impressive dimensions, measuring approximately 14.8 to 15.7 feet in length and 11.4 to 12.1 feet in width, the tomb clearly suggests it was intended for someone of great influence and status in society. However, when experts opened the coffin, they were confronted with a baffling mystery. Inside, there was no intact skeleton. Only a few toe bones were found. What caused the rest of the body to disappear? To this day, that question remains unanswered. Despite the absence of most of the human remains, the tomb still preserved a rich collection of grave goods. More than 200 ceramic fragments, nearly 200 small jade ornaments, along with numerous bone tools and animal remains, were discovered scattered around the coffin. These objects not only reflect the sophisticated culture of the Daoinku period, but also offer valuable insight into the daily life and spiritual beliefs of ancient people. Jade, a precious material regarded as a symbol of luxury and power, was crafted into delicate ornaments placed both inside and outside the coffin, likely intended to serve the soul of the deceased on its journey into the afterlife. One particularly unusual detail caught the attention of archaeologists: the presence of several ritual stone blades. Notably, these blades had been deliberately broken, raising numerous theories about burial rituals performed during the interment. Such objects may be linked to worship practices or sacrificial ceremonies, further deepening the mystery surrounding the tomb. However, not everything found at the site was intact. Evidence indicates that the tomb had been raided by grave robbers at some point in the distant past. Valuable artifacts were removed, and the body of the tomb's owner may have been disturbed or taken away. This has led researchers to question whether the tomb once belonged to a figure so important that it became a target for looters long ago. The Wangzhuang tomb is considered one of the largest and richest Dawanku period tombs ever discovered. The Dawanku culture flourished during the late Neolithic period, roughly from 4000 to 2600 BCE. People of this era achieved remarkable advances in ceramic production, creating finely crafted pottery, fired using advanced techniques. The presence of pottery, along with tools made from bone and stone, demonstrates that Dawanku society possessed a rich cultural foundation, as well as a deep understanding of technology and spiritual belief systems. So who did this tomb truly belong to? Was it the burial place of an ancient emperor, or another powerful and influential figure? Were these exquisite grave goods messages left for future generations, or simply necessities prepared for an eternal life beyond death? The answers remain a mystery. But one thing is certain, the Wangzhuang tomb will continue to captivate archaeologists and history enthusiasts alike for years to come. Time traveling. Watch found in a 400-year-old tomb sparks. Fierce debate among experts. In 2008, while a group of archaeologists and journalists were filming a documentary at a tomb dating back to the Ming Dynasty in China, an unbelievable incident occurred. The tomb was located in Shaanxi County, Guangxi Province, and most importantly, it had been officially confirmed to be completely intact, never opened since it was sealed approximately 400 years ago. What seemed like a routine excavation unexpectedly turned into one of the most controversial archaeological mysteries in China. During the process of cleaning the interior of the tomb, experts suddenly discovered a strange object lying near the coffin. At first, they assumed it was just an ordinary ring. However, the more closely they examined it, the more something seemed off. After carefully cleaning the object, the entire team was stunned to realize that this was not a regular ring. It was a watch ring. The ring was extremely thin, measuring only about 0.08 inches thick, with a face that looked exactly like a miniature watch dial. Even more striking, the watch hands were frozen at precisely 10:06, as if that moment had been permanently sealed in time. What truly sent chills down everyone's spine, however, was what appeared on the back of the ring. Engraved there was the word Swiss, and beneath it the inscription, Philip Melanchthon in honor of God, 1530. At this point, many people began to feel confused, and understandably so. The first issue is that during that period, the Swiss did not use English. They primarily spoke French and German, so why was the word Swiss engraved in English? Furthermore, Switzerland did not officially become a country until 1848. Prior to that, it existed only as the Swiss Confederation. Meanwhile, this Ming Dynasty tomb had been sealed since around the 17th century. So where did this watch ring come from? As a result, a wave of speculation erupted. Some even raised the bold question, could this watch have traveled through time into the past? While the idea is fascinating, it clearly does not hold up under scientific scrutiny. Therefore, archaeologists began considering more realistic explanations. The most widely accepted theory among experts is that the watch ring did not belong to the tomb's occupant. The reasoning is straightforward. If it had been a personal possession of the deceased, it would likely have been worn on the hand or placed carefully as a valuable burial item. Especially during the Ming Dynasty, when clocks and watches had not yet appeared in China, anyone who possessed such an object would have regarded it as a priceless treasure. Yet the ring was found outside the coffin in a seemingly random position. This led to another theory. The ring may have been dropped by a grave robber who secretly broke into the tomb at some point in the past. While searching around the coffin, the watch ring could have fallen without the intruder noticing. Another possibility suggests that an animal, such as a rat, may have picked up the ring elsewhere and carried it into the tomb. Looking more broadly at history, watch rings themselves are not entirely new inventions. 3 600-year-old Buddha statues quietly emerge from the Yangtze River. Recently, nature seems to have accidentally become an unwilling archaeological assistant. When prolonged droughts caused river and lake levels around the world to drop to record lows, objects thought to have slept undisturbed for centuries suddenly began to reappear. Among these discoveries, one story on China's Yangtze River has caused many to pause and reflect. At a stretch of the river, after weeks of intense heat, residents were astonished to discover 3 ancient Buddha statues rising from the riverbed. These were not small decorative pieces, but statues dating back approximately 600 years. Authorities quickly got involved and confirmed that the statues were constructed during the Ming and Qing dynasties, a time when the Yangtze looked very different from today. The most remarkable of the 3 statues depicts a monk seated in meditation atop a lotus pedestal, calm and serene despite centuries of water and time flowing around him. For hundreds of years, this statue lay at the bottom of the river, witnessing the waters rise and fall countless times until today, finally, lifting its gaze to the sunlight. Officials say the discovery was caused by an extreme heat wave lasting more than 2 months along China's longest river. The rapidly falling water levels not only disrupted hydroelectric operations, but also left large areas of farmland dry and damaged. It is estimated that roughly 2.03 million acres of farmland from Sichuan to Anhui province were affected, impacting about 830,000 people and 160,000 livestock. Areas relying on small reservoirs or mountain streams for irrigation suffered the most. From a daily life perspective, the situation was grim. But from an archaeological perspective, the harsh conditions inadvertently opened a window to the past. China is not alone in witnessing such phenomena. Earlier, prolonged droughts across Europe also revealed long-hidden monuments. In Spain, archaeologists celebrated the emergence of a 1,000-year-old megalithic complex, often called the Stonehenge of Spain. Meanwhile, in the Czech Republic, a historically significant stone, considered an ancient hydrological marker, reappeared, engraved with the haunting words, "If you see me, weep." Numerous other ancient settlements surfaced in rivers across Europe, keeping researchers busier than ever. Returning to the 3 Buddha statues in the Yangtze, the story goes beyond their archaeological value. It also raises the question, how many other relics and traces of history lie beneath the water, waiting for a significant enough shift to reveal themselves? Are these discoveries gifts of time, or reminders of the price humans and nature must pay? As for me, I see it this way. The river still flows, and the waters will rise again, perhaps concealing the statues once more. Yet in the brief moments they emerge, they remind us that the past has never truly left the present. It merely lies hidden, quietly waiting to be seen. The 200-mile Ghost Wall in China's desert reveals the secrets of the Western Xia dynasty. In the heart of the Gobi Desert, China, a land as harsh and unforgiving as any in Asia, where seemingly all that exists is wind, sand, and endless silence, a forgotten story quietly emerges through an ancient wall. Not the famous Great Wall, but another human marvel, the Gobi Wall, stretching 200 miles, built nearly a millennium ago by the Western Xia dynasty. Today, the journey to uncover this historical mystery takes us to a different world, a place where architecture, strategy, and power intertwine across the desert landscape. At first glance, the Gobi Wall appears as nothing more than a crumbling section of fortification abandoned amid the sand. Yet archaeologists from National University of Mongolia and Yale University have revealed a completely new perspective, challenging old assumptions about imperial borders. Using remote sensing technology, combined with field surveys and systematic excavations, they have uncovered secrets that the wind and sand have hidden for centuries. What they discovered not only illuminates the history of the Western Xia, but also astonishes scholars worldwide. The Western Xia dynasty, long overshadowed in Chinese history by larger empires like the Song or Jin, now emerges as a civilization of strategic sophistication and extreme adaptability to harsh environments. They constructed walls from rammed earth, reinforced with stone and timber, materials seemingly simple, yet perfectly suited to regions lacking water and distant from supply lines. But they did more than build a wall. They created a complex territorial management system, strategically positioning garrisons and fortresses using mountain passes, sand dunes, and scarce desert resources. Even more remarkable is the true purpose of this structure. Professor Sheluk Lavi emphasizes that the Gobi Wall was not merely a barrier to stop enemies. It was a dynamic tool to control trade, manage migration, and consolidate imperial power from within. It stands as evidence of the sophisticated integration of military strategy and administrative capability, a hallmark of the Western Xia, long forgotten in history. Stretching across multiple regions, from Ningxia Autonomous Region, Gansu, Inner Mongolia, and even touching modern Mongolian territory, the wall reveals a broad network of interaction among Central Asian empires in the medieval period. Every clod of earth, every segment of wall, is not only part of a fortification, but also a testament to an era when humans relied on ingenuity and resilience to survive and govern in one of the harshest environments on the planet. Through these recent discoveries, we realize that history is written not only by victories, but also by the adaptability and creativity of civilizations that were once thought lost. The Gobi Wall, etched across both desert and time, now rises as a living symbol of human intelligence and power, and the journey to uncover its secrets is only just beginning. A blood-red jade revealed from a small tomb sends chills down your spine. The story begins in the most ordinary, even mundane way, yet it opened a mystery that persists to this day. In the 1980s, in Maoshan, Jiangsu Province, China, a farmer digging his field accidentally struck a hard object buried underground. At first, he thought it was just a stone, but digging a little deeper, he realized he had uncovered signs of an ancient tomb. Without hesitation, the farmer reported it to local authorities, and soon archaeologists arrived to begin the excavation. Initially, the tomb at Maoshan seemed quite simple in structure and small in size, bearing no resemblance to the grand mausoleums of kings or high-ranking nobles. Inside, a few artifacts were found, but most were common and not particularly rare. This led many in the archaeological team to think that the excavation would be routine, likely ending without leaving a significant mark. However, as the work neared completion, a surprising moment occurred. One team member noticed a red object hidden in the soil. At first, the bright color piqued everyone's curiosity, because such vividly red items rarely appear in ancient tombs. Once cleaned of dirt and debris, the team realized it was a red jade ornament, smooth and round, roughly the size of an egg. Immediately, questions arose. Who did this jade belong to, and why was it such an unusual red color? Archaeologists began studying it carefully, cross-referencing historical records and ancient texts. After thorough research, they reached a chilling conclusion. This was not ordinary jade, it was blood jade. In traditional Chinese beliefs, jade ornaments were commonly worn as protective charms. Wealthy families, officials, nobles, and royalty often carried jade, believing it brought peace, good fortune, and warded off evil spirits. But blood jade was entirely different. This type of jade was not meant for the living. It appeared only in rituals for the deceased. According to ancient customs, after a person died, the family would place a piece of jade in the deceased's mouth. Over time, under environmental and biological influences, the jade gradually turned dark red, resembling the color of blood. Hence, it became known as blood jade. From that point, numerous chilling tales emerged. Folk belief held that anyone daring to remove blood jade from a corpse would face continuous misfortune, or even a tragic fate. Many legends claimed that blood jade carried the grudge of the deceased, and not everyone could touch it safely. You can probably feel a shiver running down your spine just reading this. Blood jade also appears in Taoist legends as a magical talisman against evil spirits. It was believed that this uniquely colored jade could repel demons and was used in certain ritual ceremonies. However, only highly powerful sorcerers were thought capable of handling it safely, while ordinary people were strictly forbidden to touch it. Despite these stories, modern science has yet to confirm whether blood jade truly possesses the mystical powers attributed to it by ancient beliefs. The blood-red jade found in Maoshan remains an unresolved mystery, suspended between science and superstition. And from that seemingly ordinary moment when a farmer's hoe struck the ground decades ago, a small, unremarkable tomb became the subject of reflection for many. How many secrets might still lie silently beneath the familiar soil we walk on every day, waiting to be uncovered? The strangest biological armor in history, protecting an ancient warrior. Some archaeological discoveries are so unusual that just hearing about them makes your jaw drop, and this biological armor certainly ranks among them. In northwestern China, archaeologists excavated the tomb of a man estimated to be around 30 years old. At first glance, it seemed like a routine find, but what drew the attention of the research community lay directly on the skeleton, a suit of armor made from over 5,000 overlapping scales, resembling fish scales. At first sight, the armor looked like a snug-fitting vest, not bulky or heavy like the metal armor often seen in movies. Patrick Wertmann, lead researcher at the Institute of Asian and Oriental Studies, University of Zurich, described it as light defensive armor, designed to fit various body types. In other words, it could be worn by almost anyone, ideal for soldiers in large ancient armies. Interestingly, analysis of its structure and craftsmanship suggests that the armor may not have been produced in China. On the contrary, it shows remarkable similarities to the armor of the Neo-Assyrian civilization from the 7th century BCE, as seen in Middle Eastern stone carvings. If this interpretation is correct, it could be rare evidence of trade and military technology transfer between East and West, spanning the Eurasian continent thousands of years ago. Armor, in this case, is more than protection. It tells a story of the ancient trade routes connecting civilizations across deserts, steppes, and distant lands. Alongside the armor, the tomb contained other artifacts, including ceramics, 2 horse cheek pieces made of horn and wood, and a sheep skull. These details suggest that the man may have been associated with the military, possibly a warrior who rode into battle. Being buried with armor further reinforces the notion that he was no ordinary individual. When the armor was reconstructed, scientists found it comprised 5,444 small leather scales and 140 larger ones, likely made from cowhide. The scales were arranged in precise overlapping rows, creating a surface that was flexible yet strong enough to withstand attacks. Overall, it resembled fish scales, lightweight, durable, and biomechanically inspired, a concept modern science is only now beginning to emulate. A seemingly small but critical detail was the discovery of a plant thorn trapped in the armor. By analyzing this thorn, researchers dated the armor to between 786 and 543 BCE. That means the armor is over 2,500 years old, yet its structure and design continue to impress modern science. Reconstructed, the armor weighed around 11 pounds, far lighter than later metal armors. This allowed soldiers to move freely and fight for extended periods without exhausting themselves. Clearly, it was designed for mass armies, prioritizing practicality and efficiency. This find proves that ancient people were far more innovative than we often assume. A leather armor suit arranged like fish scales, light, durable, and bridging East-West cultural influences is a testament to their ingenuity. If this armor could speak from its museum display today, it would recount a long journey across war, trade, and human history. 12 recent mysterious and eerie archaeological discoveries that shook human history. 5,000-year-old human sacrificial remains found in a Danish bog. Hidden deep beneath the thick, pitch-black mud of what once seemed like a quiet, unremarkable bog, the past suddenly resurfaced in a way that sends chills down the spine of anyone who hears the story. What was uncovered was not gold or silver treasure, nor a massive stone structure, but the remains of a human life sacrificed thousands of years ago. What makes this discovery especially unsettling is that it was not the result of an accident, but rather a deliberate act, part of a ritual carried out according to the religious beliefs of prehistoric people. Yes, you heard that right. This event truly took place on December 15, 2022. On that day, a team of archaeologists from the Roskilde Museum in Denmark was conducting a survey at a bog near the town of Stenløse, located on the island of Zealand, northwest of Copenhagen. At first, everything appeared routine until a human thigh bone was spotted protruding from the mud. As excavation continued, a lower jaw with several teeth, leg bones, and part of the pelvis gradually emerged. The bones were scattered and showed no signs of a conventional burial, as if the individual had never been properly laid to rest. The situation grew even more ominous when experts discovered the remains of a flint axe along with animal bones nearby. These artifacts immediately led researchers to suspect an ancient sacrificial ritual dating back approximately 5,000 years to the Neolithic period, a time when humans had begun settling and farming, yet still held strong to primitive spiritual beliefs. This raises an unsettling question. What truly happened in this bog? Although archaeologists have not yet been able to determine the exact age or gender of the deceased, they are almost certain this was not an accident. The presence of human remains alongside stone tools and animal bones in a bog environment is a classic indicator of sacrificial rituals. In many ancient northern European cultures, bogs were believed to be places where the human world intersected with the spirit world, sacred spaces where offerings were made to the gods. and sometimes those offerings were human lives. Emil Winterstruve, an archaeologist from the Roskilde Museum, stated that the moment the team saw the first fragments of bone, they sensed they were facing an extraordinary discovery. He explained that human remains in bogs are not commonly found, especially from the early Neolithic period in Denmark. In reality, human sacrifice has existed for a very long time, and archaeologists have documented many similar cases throughout history. A notable example is Denmark's earlier discoveries of famous bog bodies, such as the Kjolbjerg man, the oldest known human remains in the country, dating back roughly 10,000 years, or the Toland man, discovered in the 1950s and dated to around 400 BCE, whose body was preserved in astonishingly intact condition. These discoveries show that bogs were not merely places of concealment, but silent witnesses to brutal yet deeply spiritual rituals practiced by ancient peoples. The recent discovery near Stenløse was made possible thanks to Denmark's strict requirement for archaeological surveys prior to new construction projects. The bog was drained to allow for research, but due to harsh winter conditions, archaeologists were forced to pause their work and wait for the ice to melt before continuing deeper excavation. In the near future, detailed analysis of the teeth and pelvic bones is expected to provide clearer insight into the individual's identity, age, gender, and the reasons they were chosen as a sacrificial offering. Until then, these 5,000-year-old remains stand as a chilling reminder of a past in which spiritual belief could drive people to willingly sacrifice human life itself. The 2,400-year-old Factory of Immortality reveals the eerie secrets of ancient Egyptian mummification. Hidden amid the arid desert south of Cairo, the Saqqara necropolis has long been regarded as a vast archive of memory of ancient Egypt. Yet even archaeologists themselves may not have expected that beneath the layers of sand seemingly buried by time, they would uncover what can only be described as a factory for immortality, a place where both humans and animals were prepared for their journey into the afterlife some 2,400 years ago. During excavations at Saqqara, Egyptian archaeologists simultaneously discovered 2 mummification workshops along with 2 ancient tombs. As many of you may already know, Saqqara stands on the site of Memphis, the ancient capital of Egypt, a place filled with pyramids, tombs of sacred animals, and even ancient monasteries. It is no coincidence that this area has been recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, because every meter of earth uncovered may reveal a story never told before. According to Mostafa Waziri, head of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, the 2 mummification workshops date back to the 30th dynasty, approximately 2,400 years ago. One workshop was dedicated exclusively to the preparation of human bodies, while the other was reserved for sacred animals. The very fact that such a clear division existed shows that mummification at the time was far from simple. It was a highly organized system, functioning much like a truly professional operation. Inside the workshops, researchers found multiple rooms containing stone embalming tables. These were the places where the deceased were laid throughout the mummification process. Notably, each table was designed with a channel at one end, allowing bodily fluids to drain away during treatment. Nearby were numerous clay jars used to hold intestines and internal organs, along with ritual vessels and various other tools. From this layout alone, it is not difficult to imagine the scene thousands of years ago, as embalmers worked silently amid the smells of resin, oils, and preserved bodies. The second workshop, according to preliminary research, was used specifically for mummifying sacred animals. In ancient Egypt, cats, falcons, crocodiles, and the Apis bull were not ordinary animals, but beings of profound religious significance. As a result, mummifying them was not merely a form of burial, but a way for people to express their faith in the gods. Just imagine, preparing such large numbers of both humans and animals for the afterlife would have required workshops of considerable scale. The discoveries did not end there. Scientists also uncovered 2 tombs belonging to high-ranking priests. The first tomb belonged to Ne-Hasut Ba, the chief scribe and a priest who served the gods Horus and Maat during the 24th dynasty. The walls of the tomb are decorated with scenes of everyday life, from farming to hunting, resembling a slow-motion film of ancient Egyptian society. The second tomb belonged to the priest Men-Kheper. It was carved directly into the rock and features reliefs of the deceased, along with a plaster statue measuring about 3.3 feet in length. creating an atmosphere that feels both solemn and chilling. For this reason, it is fair to say that these discoveries not only deepen scientific understanding of mummification techniques, but also reveal how the ancient Egyptians viewed death, not as an end, but as a doorway to another world. At the same time, they are part of Egypt's broader efforts to revive tourism, bringing ancient mysteries back into the modern world. Don't you think so? The remains of 100 18th-century Caribbean pirates. Did you know that the pirate ship Whydah Galley, under the command of Captain Black Sam Bellamy, was once a nightmare for merchant vessels sailing from the eastern coast of the United States all the way to the Caribbean Sea? With a large and daring crew, they attacked a total of 54 ships, seizing treasure estimated to be worth as much as $120 million in today's value. However, fortune did not last forever. In 1717, the Whydah Galley sank off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, burying both its glory and its tragedy beneath the ocean floor. The search for this legendary shipwreck began in 1984, when marine archaeologists first discovered the remains of the vessel along with countless valuable artifacts, a treasure not only in material terms, but also a vivid testament to the daily life and battle tactics of pirates during the golden age of piracy. Most recently, in February 2018, a team of scientists announced the discovery of human remains believed to possibly belong to Captain Black Sam himself, found at the very site of the wreck. This revelation opened a new and mysterious chapter in historical research. But the discoveries did not stop there. Another shocking find further illuminated the story of those who once lived and fought aboard the Whydah Galley. In a remote village on Cape Cod, archaeologists uncovered a mass burial site containing more than 100 skeletons, believed to be members of the Whydah Galley's crew who washed ashore after the shipwreck. These remains include not only sailors, but also the skeletal remains of enslaved individuals who traveled with the crew. This discovery adds greater human and historical depth to the event, revealing the brutal yet complex lives of those who existed within the pirate world. Despite his fearsome reputation on the high seas, Captain Black Sam was known by the nickname the Prince of Pirates because of his distinctive leadership style. He was not a mindless killer. On the contrary, Black Sam sought to limit violence, instructing his crew to carry out raids in a relatively restrained and organized manner when confronting merchants. This approach is one of the reasons he remains one of the most memorable pirates in history, not only for his exploits at sea, but also for his unique sense of conduct within the chaotic pirate world. At present, bone samples collected from the burial site are being sent to the Forensic Science Laboratory at the University of New Haven for DNA analysis, with the goal of accurately identifying the captain and his crew. At the same time, researchers have located a direct descendant of Black Sam, who has agreed to provide a DNA sample for comparison, offering renewed hope that long-standing historical mysteries may finally be confirmed. The burial site itself is now under strict protection, preserving the dignity of those who once lived by the sea and died in obscurity. The journey to uncover the story of the Whydah Galley is not merely about a sunken ship and treasure lost beneath the ocean. It is a journey through time, bringing us into a pirate world filled with complexity, where violence and humanity, legend and reality are deeply intertwined. Through every bone fragment and every recovered artifact, the history of Black Sam Bellamy and his crew is gradually brought back to life, revealing a fascinating chapter of adventure and tragedy on the vast open seas. What do you think about this discovery? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. An alien skull in an ancient Nazi suitcase. Have you ever imagined that one day we might discover traces of extraterrestrial beings, not on Mars, but right here on Earth, and more specifically in the Caucasus Mountains, in the Adygea region of cold, remote Russia? It sounds like the plot of a science fiction horror movie, but the story you are about to hear is real and far more disturbing. Specifically, a group of explorers affiliated with the Ahnenerbe Institute, an organization that existed within Nazi Germany from 1939 to 1945, made a shocking discovery while surveying this desolate mountain region. They uncovered two unusual skulls, along with a locked rectangular case, as if it were concealing something that was never meant to be revealed. Strange symbols were carved on the outside of the case, and many believe these markings to be associated with the Ahnenerbe itself. an organization that once haunted the world with its obsession for occult pursuits, from Tibet and Antarctica to distant, uncharted lands. What stunned scientists most was the shape of the two skulls. They did not resemble any known species. There were no jaws and no conventional cranium, yet the eye sockets were unusually large and the facial structure appeared vaguely human, as if we were looking at an evolutionary form that did not originate on Earth. A shocking hypothesis soon emerged. These could be the remains of the Anunnaki, the so-called extraterrestrial gods of ancient Sumerian mythology, believed by some to have created humankind tens of thousands of years ago. According to certain interpretations, the names Anu and Ki are said to mean royal bloodline or descendants of the gods. How does that make you feel? Does it send a chill down your spine? Even more unsettling, inside the suitcase was a map of the Adygea region drawn by the Germans in 1941, and what is truly alarming is its uncanny accuracy. It appears almost as if it were created using modern satellite imagery, rather than the technology available during World War II. This raises troubling questions. Could the objects inside the case be connected to the unidentified skulls? Or was the Ahnenerbe hiding something that has never been revealed to the public? Some speculate that they may have possessed the skull of a Martian being, or even that of humanity's creator, a non-earthly entity. Of course, to this day, all of this remains purely speculative. No one has been able to definitively prove what these skulls are, where they came from, or what role they might play in the evolutionary history of humankind. Yet one thing is clear: the truth behind them challenges everything we think we know and forces many to ask an unsettling question. Could humanity have been observed or even interfered with by a far more advanced civilization long ago? 2,000-year-old remains of a man with preserved hair and one ear found in a Pompeii cemetery. At the ancient Porta Sarno necropolis, located just outside the city center of Pompeii, a burial ground that once witnessed countless farewells among Rome's elite, scientists have discovered 2,000-year-old remains of a man with closely cropped hair and even one ear that is almost perfectly preserved. It is a discovery that sends chills down the spine, because time is usually the most ruthless enemy of all human remains. Yet in this case, details that should have been erased long ago have astonishingly survived. Experts report that the remains were found inside a tomb at Porta Sarno, a cemetery that served as the final resting place for many high-ranking figures in ancient Pompeian society. Among them was Marcus Aurelius Firmus, who governed the city during the reign of Emperor Nero from AD 54 to 68. The tomb itself was constructed before the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79, an event that famously wiped Pompeii off the map in an instant. Based on inscriptions found inside the tomb, archaeologists identified the remains as belonging to Marcus Venerius Secundio, who died at the age of 60. Secundio was once a slave, but after gaining his freedom, he rose to become a wealthy priest who organized religious ceremonies conducted in both Latin and Greek. This discovery represents the first direct evidence that Greek-language rituals were held in Pompeii, a Roman city known for its remarkably open and diverse cultural character. According to Gabriel Zuchtriegel, director of the Pompeii Archaeological Park, these Greek rituals reflect a vibrant cultural environment in which different cultures not only coexisted, but also blended together. As you can see, even 2,000 years ago, Pompeii was truly an international city, lively, dynamic, and far from the closed-off place many people imagine. Secundio's tomb is rectangular in shape, built of stone and brick, and decorated on the exterior with plant motifs painted against a sky-blue background. Remarkably, despite the passage of millennia, traces of the original paint remain clearly visible. Inside, the remains were placed in a sealed niche with a vaulted ceiling. This enclosed space may have contributed to the partial mummification of the body. On the skull, scientists were still able to observe very short hair and one intact ear, an extraordinarily rare and almost unbelievable detail. In addition to the remains, researchers also found fragments of fabric and two glass vessels known as unguentaria. These were common items in ancient Roman and Greek cemeteries, typically used to hold oils or perfumes for funerary rituals. Such small objects help reconstruct the scene of Secundio's funeral, where death was treated with formality and ceremonial care. The tomb also contained two cremation urns. The most notable was an elegant blue glass urn believed to belong to a woman named Novia Amabilis, meaning the devoted wife. As you may know, cremation was the most common burial practice in Roman-era Pompeii, which makes the fact that Secundio was not cremated particularly puzzling to scientists. To this day, archaeologists have not determined whether Secundio's partial mummification was the result of natural conditions or a deliberate human effort to prevent decomposition. According to archaeologist Laurence Alapont of the University of Valencia, this uncertainty represents the greatest mystery surrounding the discovery. And perhaps, much like the city of Pompeii itself, this man continues to hold on to a part of his secret, defying time and challenging humanity's curiosity. 5,000-year-old stone tombs on Ireland's Witches' Hill. Surrounding the eastern and western Carnbane Hills in the Loughcrew region of Ireland, this remote landscape is marked by the presence of more than 30 stone tombs. Scattered among earthen mounds, these stone structures possess a haunting beauty that feels both mysterious and ancient. Irish legend refers to this place as the Witches' Hill. According to local folklore, the stone tombs were created by giant witches who carried rocks in their aprons and accidentally dropped them while flying over the area. Unlike other ancient stone monuments such as Stonehenge in England or Newgrange, also in Ireland, the Loughcrew tombs are believed to date back to around 3,500 to 3,200 BCE, making them more than 5,000 years old. It is said that from the highest stone cairn here, one can see as many as 18 surrounding districts across the county. Although the number of visitors to the site is relatively small, those who do make the journey are deeply impressed. The stone tombs at the center attract the greatest curiosity. Among them is Cairn T, considered one of the oldest tombs at the site and one of the world's earliest roofed stone structures built without supporting pillars. Even today, it remains remarkably intact, surrounded by more than 40 standing stone slabs forming a circular enclosure. The layout of the stone tombs was clearly not random, but arranged according to a mysterious and deliberate plan. They are aligned with the sunrise during the summer and winter solstices. Each morning at dawn, the tombs are bathed in golden sunlight, creating a breathtaking scene. Many theories suggest that ancient Irish people possessed substantial astronomical knowledge and understood the sun's movement cycles. Some experts even believe the construction was tied to religious rituals or sacred beliefs connected to the sky. Notably, the phenomenon of equal-length day and night occurs twice a year at this site. During these moments, sunlight floods the entire hill, illuminating even the darkest stone chambers and revealing intricate decorative patterns carved into the rock. The most distinctive feature of Loughcrew lies in these carvings. Ancient people etched concentric circles, floral shapes, crosses, and other symbols into the stone surfaces. Many believe these carvings were not merely decorative. One theory suggests they represent astronomical knowledge, possibly forming a symbolic map of the sky with stars and planets. While this idea remains speculative and lacks widespread support, another hypothesis proposes that the circles and carved points represent fortified settlements. Extensive research on the cairns indicates that they may have served not only as burial sites, but also as an ancient calendar used by early Irish communities to track seasonal cycles and agricultural timing. In the 1980s, researcher Martin Brennan discovered a particularly unusual stone known as the Backstone. It is one of 26 stones within Cairn U and is believed to hold a sacred meaning that remains poorly understood. Unfortunately, this site has yet to receive the attention it truly deserves. Local residents have fenced off parts of the area for use as sheep pasture. A heritage site that may contain messages from a distant past now lies quietly forgotten amid Ireland's lush green grasslands. Perhaps it is time we reconsider places like Loughcrew not merely as tourist destinations, but as vital clues to a prehistoric civilization that humanity still does not fully understand. Could it be that within these ancient stone tombs, secrets remain that we simply lack the knowledge to decipher? What do you think about this mystery? Share your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss it together. The magnificent water systems of ancient Rome. When people think of ancient Roman civilization, they often picture legendary arenas, powerful emperors, or magnificent temples full of symbolism. But hidden behind the glory of these iconic symbols lies a marvel that few mention. A system that not only impressed the ancient world, but still earns respect from modern science: the Roman aqueducts. This network of engineering was the very lifeblood that sustained the vast Roman Empire for centuries. Among the ancient stone cities, one structure stands out: Aqua Virgo, an underground aqueduct stretching 13 miles, built in the 1st century BCE under General Marcus Agrippa, one of Emperor Augustus's closest confidants. Aqua Virgo was not just a water channel, it was a technical wonder, operating quietly but essential for the survival and growth of millions of Roman citizens. Legend has it that the pure water of Aqua Virgo was discovered by a virgin who showed Roman soldiers the location of a clean underground spring emerging from the Sabine Mountains. That is why the system was named Virgo, meaning virgin in Latin. From this source, tens of thousands of cubic meters of water were delivered to Rome every day, and remarkably, some sections are still functioning over 2,000 years later. Can you imagine that? At its peak, Rome had 11 major aqueduct systems, delivering a total of 132 million gallons of water per day, a figure that would impress even modern cities. These aqueducts ran underground, across valleys, through hills, and sometimes over gorges using massive three-tiered bridges like the Pont du Gard in southern France. One aqueduct alone stretched 31 miles but dropped only 40 feet in elevation, an almost perfect slope of 0.0248%. To achieve such astonishing precision, the Romans used a device called a corabat, an ancient leveling instrument. This tool allowed them to measure and adjust each section of the aqueduct with accuracy to the thousandth of a unit. For example, the famous Anio Novus aqueduct had a slope of only 4 feet 3 inches per mile, yet water flowed continuously from the mountains to the heart of the city. The entire system was built using Roman concrete, known as opus caementicium, a material remarkably waterproof and durable, allowing many bridges and channels to survive for millennia. Inside, rectangular channels were coated with multiple layers of mortar to prevent leaks, a challenge that even some modern systems still face. The Romans' ingenuity extended to the smallest details. In complex terrains, they installed hollow stone pipes connected by mechanical joints, essentially early versions of modern water pipes. Some stone pipes were drilled with inspection holes to remove sediment and then sealed with special materials to ensure long-term efficiency. The level of craftsmanship and sophistication is staggering for a civilization that existed thousands of years ago. Today, if you visit Parco degli Acquedotti in Rome, you can still see the ruins of these aqueducts proudly standing across the meadows, curving gracefully and serving as an eternal testament to the skill of ancient engineers. Some vaulted sections reach 90 feet high, leaving visitors in awe of the scale and precision achieved without any modern digital technology. Looking at these constructions, one realizes that greatness is not always measured by pyramids or colossal statues. Sometimes it lies in the silent flow of water, nourishing an entire empire and leaving an indelible mark on human history. Once again, ancient Rome shows us that engineering is not merely a tool, but a symbol of progress and forward thinking. Perhaps the greatest lesson they left behind is this: when intellect and knowledge are applied wisely, it is possible to create works that transcend both time and imagination. Ancient Inca tomb reveals the nobility and power of a glorious empire. On February 16, 2019, at the Mata Indio archaeological site in the arid lands of Lambayeque in northern Peru, where sand and time seem to have erased all traces of the past, archaeologists unexpectedly opened a door straight into the heart of the glorious Inca civilization. That door was an ancient Inca tomb. This was far from an ordinary tomb. It serves as a crucial piece in helping us understand the power, beliefs, and grandeur of an empire that once dominated a vast region of South America. According to archaeologist Luis Chero, the artifacts found inside indicate that the tomb's occupant was likely an Inca noble. Evidence comes from special items buried with the deceased, notably spondylus shells, rare seashells traditionally used in sacred rituals and reserved for the highest echelons of power. For the Inca, spondylus shells were not mere decorations. They carried profound spiritual meaning, symbolizing divinity, water, and fertility. The tomb itself also impresses with its unique architecture. Inside, numerous small niches held statues of figures revered in the Inca spiritual world. This arrangement reflects the Inca belief that death is not the end, but a journey to another world, where the soul continues to be protected by gods and ancestors. Interestingly, examinations show that the tomb had been disturbed multiple times. In the past, treasure hunters likely attempted to dig through it in search of gold or jewelry belonging to Inca nobility. Despite this damage, many important artifacts remain intact, including intricately crafted vases that reflect the artistic skill and aesthetic sense of the Inca. Mata Indio is no stranger to archaeologists. The site lies about 620 miles north of Lima and roughly 1,240 miles from Cusco, the ancient capital of the Inca Empire. It has long been recognized as a key site for studying the Incas' expansion beyond the central Andes. The discovery of this tomb further underscores Mata Indio's special role in the history of the Inca civilization. Speaking of the Inca brings to mind an empire that continues to amaze the modern world. They built 40,000 miles of roads across rugged mountains, harsh deserts, and dense jungles. Not stopping there, they constructed suspension bridges made of grass up to 230 feet long, connecting regions that would otherwise have been inaccessible. All of this was achieved without wheels or modern metal tools, relying solely on intelligence, experience, and human labor. Thus, the discovery of the Mata Indio tomb not only sheds light on Inca burial rituals and religious practices, but also helps reconstruct a golden era of human history. Every stone and artifact excavated whispers from the past, reminding us that countless mysteries of the Inca civilization still await discovery. 3,500-year-old tomb reveals treasure hoard with thousands of gold leaves. In the heart of the Peloponnese, near the ruins of the ancient city of Pylos, Greece, archaeologists recently excavated two royal tombs dating back 3,500 years, belonging to the Mycenaean civilization, one of the most dazzling and mysterious civilizations of Bronze Age Europe. What stunned the archaeological community was that thousands of gold leaves were still scattered inside the tombs, glittering among the rubble like fragments of a long-forgotten dynasty. Both tombs were designed in the tholos style, a characteristic beehive-shaped tomb reserved for royalty at the time. One tomb measures about 39 feet in diameter, while the other is roughly 28 feet across, illustrating the scale and luxury once devoted to the burial of powerful figures. Over millennia, the domes of both tombs had collapsed, and the soil and stones that poured in inadvertently acted as a natural shield, keeping tomb robbers from accessing the hidden treasure. Thanks to this protection, researchers discovered a nearly intact treasure trove. Walls once adorned with gold, floors lined with traces of gold, gold rings, pendants depicting the Egyptian goddess Hathor, and notably, a gold ring engraved with two oxen beside a stalk of barley, a staple crop for ancient Greeks. These seemingly minor details are key clues helping researchers unravel the mysteries of Mycenaean civilization. The tombs also contained imported artifacts from across the ancient world, including red carnelian stones, Baltic amber, and Egyptian quartz, revealing the extent of international trade and prosperity achieved by Greece at the time, an interconnected, wealthy culture far exceeding previous historians' assumptions. According to the Greek Ministry of Culture, this discovery is not just a material treasure, but a living record that fills gaps in the history of the Mycenaean civilization, the foundation that later shaped classical Greece. From burial style and architecture to the artifacts themselves, all evidence points to the tomb's occupants being more than ordinary nobles. They were likely rulers or individuals of supreme religious significance. Archaeologists believe this may be one of the discoveries capable of reshaping our understanding of early Greek civilization. We have long known this civilization through myths, legends, and heroic tales, but now each gold leaf, piece of jewelry, and gemstone provides tangible evidence to reconstruct the most accurate picture of a once glorious era. So what truly happened to this civilization? Who were the individuals buried in these massive beehive tombs? And why do Egyptian symbols appear in a Greek tomb? These questions remain open, but with each excavation, a piece of history is brought back into the light, and the journey to decode the past continues. A massive structure built from over 60 mammoth skeletons from the Ice Age. When we think of mammoths, most people immediately picture those giant furry creatures slowly roaming the icy prehistoric plains. These animals were truly impressive in size, reaching up to 13 feet tall and weighing on average 6 to 8 tons, with some males exceeding 12 tons. About 5 million years ago, mammoths began appearing across northern Europe, Asia, and even North America. Ironically, just as ancient humans were building the first pyramids in Egypt, the last mammoths gradually disappeared from Earth roughly 3,700 years ago. Since then, we have only known them through cold fossils buried deep underground. The extinction of mammoths, along with many other giant animals at the end of the Pleistocene and into the Holocene, has long sparked debate among paleontologists. One widely discussed hypothesis is that Homo sapiens, our ancestors, played a key role through large-scale hunting. However, until recently, concrete evidence for this theory remained unconvincing. Everything changed when scientists began excavating Kostanki 11, an archaeological site on the western bank of the Don River in Russia's Voronezh region. There, they discovered a massive structure dating back about 25,000 years, constructed from hundreds of bones belonging to over 60 mammoths. The structure measures about 41 feet in diameter, a scale so vast it makes anyone wonder, how did prehistoric humans accomplish this? Although the site was initially discovered in 2013, it took several years of excavation and study for the full structure to be revealed. Radiocarbon dating confirmed that this is the oldest known construction made from mammoth bones in the world. Remarkably, the purpose of this bone building remains a mystery. Some researchers suggest it may have been a ritual site, while others believe it could have been used to store food under harsh climatic conditions. What do you think? Could a structure this massive and heavy have served only as storage, or might it have held spiritual or ceremonial significance as well? Interestingly, this is not the first time humans have discovered structures made from mammoth bones. In the 1950s and 1960s, Soviet scientists found two similar constructions, though much smaller. This raises further questions, as humans at that time were primarily nomadic hunter-gatherers, rarely building large, permanent structures. Analysis shows that most of the bones at Kostanki 11 belonged to recently hunted mammoths, mixed with bones of individuals that had died long ago. Gathering and transporting such a huge mass of bones clearly required tremendous effort and organization, indirectly proving that prehistoric humans hunted mammoths on a significant scale. Yet the key question remains unanswered. Did mammoths go extinct entirely because of humans, or did climate change also play a role? One thing is clear. In Australia, after humans arrived more than 40,000 years ago, nearly all animals weighing over 1,100 pounds disappeared, lending further support to the hypothesis that humans were the main factor. Monster skeleton and the mysterious girl in a 1,600-year-old Maya tomb. Amid the ancient ruins of the Maya civilization, where the echoes of ceremonial drums and prayers to the gods once filled the air, archaeologists have uncovered a tomb that sends chills down the spine. This tomb dates back to around 435 AD, over 1,600 years ago, and belonged to a very young Maya girl. What makes this discovery remarkable is not just the age of the person buried, but also the unique and spiritually significant scene inside the tomb. The girl's body survives only as a skeleton, but her burial posture is highly unusual. She was placed sitting cross-legged with a straight back, resembling someone in meditation or participating in a solemn ritual. Surrounding her were not the usual funerary items, but the bones of 4 animals: 2 deer, a crocodile, and the most terrifying, a jaguar. Among these, the jaguar was positioned closest to the girl, almost lying beside her, while the deer and crocodile were arranged around them. This arrangement caught researchers' attention, suggesting that the jaguar had a special significance compared to the other animals. According to archaeologist Nawa Sugiyama from George Mason University, this was not a wild animal randomly killed for sacrifice, but a domesticated creature. Evidence lies in the chemical composition of its bones. Analysis showed a high level of C4 carbon, a molecule commonly found in cultivated plants, especially maize, which was a staple crop for the Maya. This indicates that the jaguar did not hunt in the wild, but was fed by humans, a true pet, though imagining a pet jaguar might be startling. The fact that the jaguar was buried with its young female owner reflects a distinctive Maya sacrificial custom. In their worldview, humans, animals, and gods were closely connected. Sacrificing powerful and dangerous animals was a way to demonstrate power, status, and spiritual beliefs of the deceased. This is not the first time archaeologists have found large cats, such as jaguars or pumas, buried in ancient Mesoamerican cities, a vast region in North America that was the cradle of many brilliant civilizations. Research also shows that the Maya not only hunted, but also kept many animals in captivity, either as pets or for trade. Jaguars, deer, and birds were raised for fur, feathers, or religious ceremonies. However, not all animals were domesticated. Some skeletons show high levels of C3 carbon, which is common in wild plants, indicating that these animals were hunted in forests. This ancient tomb, therefore, is more than just the resting place of a young Maya girl. It provides a window into the complex relationship between humans and animals in the past. It makes us ask, for the ancient Maya, where was the line between pet, sacrificial animal, and symbol of power? And was the jaguar merely a domesticated pet, or did it carry a deeper spiritual significance that we still cannot fully decode? Hard to answer, isn't it? A 1,500-year-old Buddhist ruin in China's most mysterious and harsh desert. In May 2012, a team of archaeologists touched the past when they uncovered the remains of an ancient Buddhist temple deep within the scorching sands of the Taklamakan desert. What stunned the world was not only the 1,500-year age of the site, but also what it revealed: a buried cultural treasure testifying to the remarkable exchange between East and West throughout history. When first discovered, the temple was almost completely buried under thick layers of desert sand. Yet beneath the dunes lay more than 3,000 valuable relics, the most striking of which were breathtaking murals. What made them extraordinary was that they were unlike any artwork previously found in the region. They carried strong influences of Greco-Buddhist art, a style that had become extremely rare after the 6th century. Even in this remote, seemingly isolated desert, archaeologists found vivid evidence of a transcontinental cultural encounter. As Buddhism traveled from India along caravan routes, crossing vast lands to reach ancient China, archaeologist Wu Xinhua, who led the excavation, could not hide his astonishment. This ruin is truly unique. We have never seen murals like this in our field. It is clear evidence of the merging of two cultures as Buddhism began to spread into China. Indeed, this discovery acts as a missing piece in the historical puzzle of Buddhism's development, a major religion that traveled thousands of miles across centuries, shaping the spiritual identity of a civilization. The excavation, which lasted over a month and concluded in June 2012, determined that the temple dates back to the northern and southern dynasties of China, roughly the 5th to 6th century AD. This was a period of profound transition and cultural exchange, when China expanded trade and contact with the outside world via the Silk Road, the legendary route connecting Asia and Europe. What makes this temple remarkable is not just its age or the artistic value of the murals, but also its unexpected architectural design. The largest chamber discovered within the site is an impressive, unprecedented space in the Taklamakan Desert's archaeological record. It resembles a sacred hall where ancient devotees once gathered, meditated, and performed worship. This structure not only amazed archaeologists, but also opened new avenues for research into how ancient people built grand religious sites in one of the harshest environments on Earth. For historians and archaeologists, the discovery is like a doorway to the past. It demonstrates the early spread of Buddhism into vast China and raises questions about the deep influence of Western culture, particularly ancient Greece, on Eastern religions. Mythical figures, artistic motifs, and color techniques all reflect a harmonious blend of wisdom from multiple civilizations. Today, standing in the Taklamakan Desert, with blazing sun and sand-laden winds, it is hard to imagine that this once thriving cultural hub existed here, where monks and artisans wove legends through their art and faith. And the temple, seemingly forgotten for over 1,500 years, suddenly speaks across time, sending a message from the past. Every journey, no matter how distant and harsh, leaves a mark, especially when it is a journey of knowledge, faith, and cultural exchange. 12 oldest archaeological discoveries on Earth that even leading scientists still cannot explain. More than 300 skeletons beneath a bar floor, revealed after 600 years. If one day you were walking past what seemed like an ordinary construction site, where a lively bar was about to be built, would you ever imagine that beneath your feet lay a massive mass grave? Just hearing that is enough to send chills down your spine, isn't it? Yet what sounds like something straight out of a movie actually happened in Pembrokeshire, Wales, in the United Kingdom. The story goes that when construction workers began digging the foundation for the new bar, they unexpectedly uncovered the first fragments of human bones. The deeper they dug, the clearer the truth became. until the entire site fell silent upon realizing that the number of skeletal remains discovered beneath the foundation had exceeded 300. However, what truly unsettled archaeologists and the public alike was not only the enormous number of remains, but the fact that nearly half of them belonged to children. Because of this, construction was immediately halted. Leading archaeologists were called in, the site was sealed off, and a large-scale excavation began. Beneath the cold layers of earth, hundreds of people from the past were gradually brought back into the light after centuries of being forgotten. Through careful study, experts concluded that this was most likely an ancient mass burial site, where victims of a major battle that took place around the 15th century were laid to rest. The area was identified as the Cemetery of Saint Saviour, a burial ground that had existed for more than 600 years and was closely tied to the formation and development of the city of Haverfordwest. In other words, a modern bar nearly ended up being built directly on top of a blood-soaked chapter of the region's history. Notably, among the hundreds of skeletal remains discovered, one skeleton was found holding a chalice in its hands. This suggests that the individual may have been a highly important figure in the community at the time, possibly a senior clergyman or someone who held a key religious role. This small detail raises many questions. Who was this person, and why were they buried in such a formal manner within a mass grave? Importantly, the excavation revealed not only human bones, but also a wide range of ancient artifacts and bricks dating back hundreds of years. From religious objects to everyday household items, everything was carefully collected and preserved for research. These pieces have helped archaeologists gradually reconstruct the social life, beliefs, and culture of the people of Pembrokeshire in the 15th century. Based on the remaining evidence, experts even believe that this site was once an important architectural complex, including stables, a reading room, and possibly even an ancient hospital. This indicates that Saint Saviour was not only a burial ground for the dead, but also a vital center of community life in the past. Archaeologist Gabby Lester, a member of the excavation team, shared emotionally that she had never, even in her boldest dreams, imagined she would take part in such a monumental discovery. According to her, this burial site is not only a crucial part of the history of Haverfordwest and Pembrokeshire, but also an invaluable treasure of knowledge that opens new doors for future research. However, why these people died and why they were buried together in this way remains a mystery to this day. It just goes to show that history is not always found in books. Sometimes it lies quietly beneath our feet, waiting for the day it is finally uncovered. A female mummy and a vast treasure, discovered in an ancient tomb in Peru. In the sun-drenched, windswept, and mysterious land of El Castillo de Huarmey, located about 174 miles north of Lima, the capital of Peru, archaeologists recently uncovered an ancient royal tomb dating back more than 1,200 years. The tomb belonged to the Wari Empire, a pre-Inca civilization that once dominated the mighty Andes Mountains long before the rise of the Inca Empire and its place in history. This ancient tomb is not merely a final resting place. It is like a mysterious doorway opening into the past, a realm where power, ritual, and long-hidden secrets lie waiting to be revealed. As the archaeological team excavated deeper into the earth, they discovered not just one, but dozens of skeletal remains, mummies, and extraordinarily valuable treasures buried alongside important figures of this civilization. Most remarkable was the discovery of 3 female mummies, believed to be queens from the highest noble class of the Wari Empire. They were buried with luxurious items made of gold and silver, as well as finely painted ceramics. Many other remains were wrapped in burial cloths, a funerary tradition that symbolized dignity and sacredness in Wari culture. However, not everyone buried in the tomb was of noble status. Archaeologists identified 6 skeletons that were not wrapped in cloth and were found inside the coffins of others, positioned in unusually contorted poses. This detail led to the hypothesis that they may have been human sacrifices, individuals chosen to accompany the deceased on their journey to the afterlife. Human sacrifice was not uncommon in ancient civilizations, and this theory further deepens the sense of ritual and mystery surrounding this royal burial site. Mr. Miloš Girš, co-director of the excavation project, shared his emotional response with Reuters, stating, "For the first time in the history of archaeology, we have found such an ancient royal tomb. This is a true archaeological treasure, not only because of its material value, but also because of the historical and cultural significance it carries. For archaeologists, this discovery is like recovering a missing piece of the Andean historical puzzle. For a long time, much has been known about the great Inca Empire, yet far less was understood about its predecessors, such as the Wari civilization. This find not only helps us better understand the Wari social hierarchy, rituals, and artistic achievements, but also revives a major question about the role of women in ancient civilizations. The fact that 3 queens were buried with great ceremony and surrounded by treasures strongly suggests that women in the Wari Empire were not merely supporting figures, but may have held substantial political and religious power. To this day, the excavation continues, and none of us know how many more secrets still lie hidden beneath those ancient layers of earth and stone. But one thing is certain: with every layer uncovered, a new page of history is being rewritten, vivid, authentic, and profoundly mysterious. 2,400-year-old tomb containing 50 mummies reveals a chilling mystery beneath the sands of Egypt. If there is one place in the world where history reveals itself the moment you dig just a few feet into the ground, it would undoubtedly be Egypt. A striking example of this occurred in February 2019, when an archaeological discovery in southern Cairo, Egypt, sent shockwaves through both the scientific community and the general public. Specifically, during excavations at the Tuna El Gebel archaeological site, experts unexpectedly uncovered an ancient tomb containing as many as 50 mummies, dating back approximately 2,400 years. The very moment the burial chambers were opened, a chapter of the past thought to have been forever asleep seemed to speak once more. What made this discovery remarkable was not only the sheer number of mummies, but also the way they were distributed across 4 separate burial chambers. Each chamber felt like a sealed world of its own, preserving untold stories from antiquity. Most striking of all, among the 50 mummies, 12 were children. This detail immediately prompted researchers to pause and ask difficult questions. What exactly happened to these children, and why were they buried with such care in a grand tomb like this? To this day, the exact identities of those buried in the tomb remain unknown. However, based on the elaborate burial methods and the tomb's prominent location, experts believe they may have been individuals of high social status who once held important roles during the Ptolemaic, early Roman, or Byzantine periods. In other words, this was likely not the final resting place of ordinary people, but rather members of the elite class of ancient Egyptian society. Mr. Mostafa Waziri, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, revealed a detail that made the discovery even more mysterious. No names were inscribed in hieroglyphs, as is commonly seen in Egyptian tombs. This absence has made identification extremely difficult and raises a major question. Why would people of such status be buried without leaving behind their names? Furthermore, differences in burial practices have also intrigued scientists. Some mummies were buried as deep as about 30 feet underground, carefully wrapped in multiple layers of linen, demonstrating exceptionally advanced mummification techniques. Others, however, were placed in stone coffins or wooden sarcophagi, with each burial style seemingly reflecting a distinct status, role, or ritual. This combination makes the tomb resemble a complex mosaic of ancient society. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of all lies in the unanswered questions. How did these people die? Was it from natural causes, disease, or a major historical catastrophe? And how have these mummies remained so remarkably well preserved after more than 2 millennia beneath Egypt's dry, scorching sands? None of these questions have yet been fully answered. Still, the tomb at Tuna El Gebel offers more than valuable artifacts. It opens a direct doorway into the past, where each mummy represents an unfinished story. The more scientists investigate, the more they realize that what has been uncovered may only be the tip of the iceberg, while the true mysteries continue to lie silently in the shadows of history. 900-year-old medieval skeleton revealed after a storm in Ireland. You know, sometimes history does not need humans to search for it. It can emerge into the light on its own in the most unexpected ways. And the story of this 900-year-old skeleton in Ireland is a perfect example. The incident took place in the winter of 2015 in Sligo, Ireland. At that time, a powerful storm uprooted a birch tree more than 215 years old, tearing its massive root system out of the ground. What people discovered next was astonishing: a human skeleton trapped within the tangled roots of the tree. No one could have imagined that beneath what seemed like an ordinary tree lay a story that had been asleep for nearly a millennium. Immediately after the discovery, Ireland's National Monument Service stepped in and authorized the Sligo Leitrim Archaeological Project to conduct a detailed investigation. In the early days of excavation, experts quickly realized that this was no ordinary set of remains. The upper portion of the skeleton, including the skull and spine, was tightly wedged within the tree's root system, while the legs remained buried deep underground. As the tree had grown over centuries, its roots had gradually pulled the skeleton out of alignment and split it in two, creating a scene that was both strange and deeply unsettling. It was only after nearly a year of careful study that the archaeological team released their initial findings. Dr. Marion Dowd, the lead researcher, stated that this was one of the most unusual excavations she had ever taken part in. Despite being displaced and damaged by the tree roots, the skeleton was remarkably well preserved, allowing scientists to conduct detailed analyses. The results showed that the remains belonged to a young man between 17 and 20 years old, who lived sometime between the mid-11th and the 13th century during the medieval period. What especially caught archaeologists' attention were the clear signs of violence on the bones. Deep-cut marks were found on the ribs and hands, indicating that the individual had endured a brutal attack. These injuries evoke images of a chase, a life-or-death struggle, or even a violent execution. However, despite the strong physical evidence, scientists have not been able to determine the exact cause of death. Was this young man a victim of warfare, a conflict between communities, or a personal dispute that ended in tragedy? That question remains unanswered to this day. Another intriguing detail is the victim's height, approximately 5 feet 10 inches, which was significantly taller than the average male of that era. This has led researchers to suggest that he may have performed heavy physical labor from a young age, contributing to his unusually strong physical development. Though his life may have been short and harsh, his body tells a story of strength and endurance. 166 skulls found at the site of a violent clash between two Mexican drug cartels. In September 2018, in the state of Veracruz, Mexico, 166 skulls were discovered in a mass grave. All were victims of a brutal clash between some of the country's most notorious drug cartels, clear proof of that grim reality. As you may know, Veracruz is no stranger to violence. It has long been a hotspot in the bloody territorial war between the Zetas cartel and the Jalisco cartel, a place where lives can disappear overnight. According to prosecutor Jorge Winkler, the bodies in this mass grave are believed to have been buried in 2016. However, the figure of 166 skulls may not represent the full extent of what lies underground, as investigators believe many more remains have yet to be discovered. To locate the burial pits, authorities had to rely on ground-penetrating radar, drones, and other advanced technologies. Even so, for security reasons, local officials were forced to keep the exact location confidential, as the area still poses a risk of violence from criminal groups. This shows that even when the truth comes to light, the shadow of the drug trade has not yet faded. This mass grave is not merely a place where bodies were hidden. It is stark evidence of a long chain of crimes spanning many years, including kidnappings, extortion, and mass murder. Investigators believe that most of the victims were innocent civilians. Among them were many Mexican migrants, people who carried little more than fragile hope as they tried to cross into the United States in search of a better life. Instead of a brighter future, they fell into the hands of drug cartels. The methods used by these groups were chillingly ruthless. Victims were abducted in public places, detained while their families were extorted for ransom. And when the money did not arrive, or arrived but was no longer deemed valuable, they were killed without mercy. These mass graves bury not only lives, but also the hopes of hundreds of families. One story that moved many people to tears is that of Maria de Lourdes Rosales Calvo. For 5 years, she lived in despair while searching for her son. Her 25-year-old son and his girlfriend were kidnapped by armed men directly from their home. 4 days later, she received a call demanding ransom. She paid, only to hear her son's voice for just 5 seconds over the phone. After that, all contact vanished completely. When she heard about the mass grave in Veracruz, Calvo said it gave her a painful kind of hope. At the very least, she might finally learn the truth about her son's fate. Even more frightening is the fact that this was not the first time Mexico had uncovered such graves. In 2016 and 2017, investigators found 253 skulls in another mass grave on the outskirts of Veracruz's state capital. Earlier, in 2011, police discovered 236 bodies buried together in the state of Durango. All of these cases share a common thread. The victims were mostly migrants, and the perpetrators were often linked to the Zetas cartel. Perhaps this is not just a story about crime, but a cold reminder of the dark side of the modern world. For me personally, this is one of the most brutal and terrifying real-life stories I have encountered in my journey of exploring true mysteries. What about you? When you hear the number 166 skulls, what do you feel? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. 600-year-old medieval wedding ring valued at $47,000. Some treasures are not hidden deep within tombs or guarded by ancient stone walls, but instead lie quietly in the middle of an ordinary field for hundreds of years. The story of a 600-year-old wedding ring discovered in England is a perfect example of this. The central figure in this discovery is David Board, a British metal detectorist who never imagined that what seemed like a simple search would lead to a love story stretching back more than 6 centuries. On one occasion, after receiving permission from a farmer friend to search a field in the village of Thorncombe, Dorset, Board was struck by the field's unusually flat terrain. He scanned the entire field twice without finding anything significant. But on the third attempt, his metal detector emitted a signal that made him stop. When he dug into the soil, the first thing he saw was a small, misshapen object that looked like an old candy wrapper. However, after wiping away the dirt, a shimmering gold ring slowly emerged, carrying with it the breath of the medieval era. Experts soon determined that the ring was a piece of aristocratic jewelry, dating back about 600 years and estimated to be worth between $35,000 and $47,000. The ring is made of gold and weighs approximately 0.1 ounces. Its design features 2 intertwined bands forming delicate pointed ridges. Most striking is the diamond cut in a pyramid shape, a style extremely rare in the medieval period, indicating that its owner belonged to an exceptionally wealthy social class. Beyond its material value, the ring also carries a deeply emotional historical story. Based on inscriptions engraved on the inner band in medieval French, researchers believe this was the wedding gift of Sir Thomas Brooke, a wealthy landowner who lived in the 14th century, given to his wife, Lady Joan. Sir Brooke was far from an ordinary figure. He was elected to Parliament 13 times, representing Somerset between 1386 and 1413, and was one of the most influential individuals in English society at the time. What makes the story especially intriguing is that the ring was not found in a grave or a treasure hoard, but lying alone in a field for more than 600 years. Because of this, historians have proposed a rather down-to-earth hypothesis. It is possible that one afternoon, Lady Joan was playing wooden ball games in a field near one of her estates in Dorset. To move more comfortably, she removed the ring and set it aside. Then, perhaps caught up in the joy of winning a game, or distracted by a messenger arriving with important news, she simply forgot to put the ring back on her finger. That single careless moment caused this precious piece of jewelry to rest beneath the soil for generations, silently witnessing the changing seasons, the outbreak and end of wars, and the coming and going of countless lives. 9,600-year-old stone cave in Belize, containing 44 skeletons, reveals the origins of the Maya Empire. Hidden deep within the dense mountains of Belize, long renowned for its mysterious Maya ruins, scientists have uncovered a discovery even older and more valuable than any stone structure previously known in the region. It is not a pyramid nor a towering temple, but a seemingly unremarkable natural stone cave. Inside this enclosed space, nearly 10,000 years of history have been quietly preserved, waiting for modern humans to step in and listen. When researchers began exploring the cave, they were stunned to discover 44 human skeletons buried within. These skeletons do not belong to a single time period, but span a range from approximately 1,000 to 9,600 years ago. In other words, this is not an ordinary burial site. It is like a chronicle in bones, recording each chapter of human survival in this land for nearly 9 millennia. For this reason, the research team has called the discovery a matchless treasure. According to scientists from Exeter University, England, studying these 44 individuals could help reconstruct almost the entire picture of ancient life in the area, from how they hunted and farmed to their daily routines, diseases, customs, and environmental adaptations across different historical periods. What is even more remarkable is that the skeletons are astonishingly well preserved, likely thanks to the stable, enclosed environment of the natural cave. Among the skeletons are adult men and women, as well as children, forming a nearly complete representation of a community. This allows researchers not just to study individuals, but to glimpse an entire primitive society gradually taking shape and developing. The work of analyzing this priceless archive began with a simple question: what did these people eat to survive? Analysis revealed a significant turning point around 4,700 years ago, when maize first appeared in their diet. Initially, it made up about 1/3 of their food intake, but within 700 years, that proportion had jumped to 70%. This indicates a clear shift from a foraging lifestyle to sophisticated agriculture. Maize gradually became the foundation of daily life, later serving as the backbone of both pre-Maya and Maya agriculture, with clear evidence emerging around 2,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the oldest skeletons, dating back nearly 9,600 years, tell a very different story. These individuals primarily relied on herbs and berries, reflecting a lifestyle deeply dependent on nature before agriculture had developed. This contrast provides scientists with a vivid view of human evolution in the region, from early hunter-gatherer communities to organized societies with stable food production. To this day, excavation and research in this cave continue. Each skeleton analyzed raises new questions while revealing important clues about the peoples who may have laid the foundations for the legendary Maya civilization. No one knows how many more secrets remain hidden beneath the stone and soil, but it is clear that this cave is slowly telling a thousands of years long story that history had forgotten. Perhaps from this very cave, we will gain a better understanding of the path that led humanity to one of the greatest civilizations of the Americas. If so, isn't that incredibly fascinating? Nineteenth century burial in England with skeleton and glass bottle between legs puzzles. Archaeologists. In early 2021, when archaeologists began excavating an area that had served as a cemetery for nearly 80 years, from 1783 to 1861, they stumbled upon a discovery so unusual that it still has no complete explanation to this day. This finding not only puzzled experts, but also intrigued anyone who heard about it. The excavation took place on Castle Street in the heart of Hull, East Yorkshire, as part of the £355 million A63 road project, designed to build a new junction to relieve years of traffic congestion. Around 70 professional archaeologists participated in the project, a team experienced in uncovering thousands of skeletons and bones accumulated over centuries. But among countless ordinary graves, one in particular made everyone pause, exchanging surprised glances. Inside this grave was an extremely unusual skeleton. Between the skeleton's legs, archaeologists discovered a small blue glass bottle, still intact. Inside the bottle was a strange brown liquid that alone was enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Even more astonishing, the bottle was carefully positioned and sealed, clearly placed intentionally rather than accidentally left behind during burial. Engraved on its surface were the words, "Hull Infirmary." This small detail immediately became an important clue, directly linking the bottle to a hospital that once existed in the area. According to historical records, Hull Infirmary was first established in 1782, just a year before the cemetery opened, and later moved to Prospect Street in 1784. This led archaeologists to believe the bottle was closely associated with the person buried, rather than being a random object. Katie Dalman, who oversaw the excavation, explained that finding rings, coins, clothing, or even food in post-medieval graves is not uncommon. But this bottle was entirely different. It was positioned in a very specific location and nearly full of liquid, which is extremely rare for burials of the same period. This detail left the excavation team astounded. Based on remaining evidence, researchers were able to identify the deceased as a woman around 60 years old at the time of her death, who had suffered from rickets and osteoporosis. These conditions reflect the living conditions and healthcare of the 19th century. However, her identity is only part of the story. The most puzzling aspect remains the bottle itself. A sample of the liquid was sent to Nottingham Trent University for analysis using modern technology. Results revealed the presence of sodium, potassium, and phosphorus, leading to the hypothesis that the liquid could be urine. If true, this raises even more questions. Why would urine be placed in a grave? Did it hold medical, ritual, or spiritual significance? Alternatively, Katie Dalman suggested the bottle might have contained a phosphate drink or tonic, which were common in the 19th century. These medicines were advertised to cure everything from general weakness to tuberculosis. If this theory is correct, the bottle could have been related to the woman's end-of-life treatment, intentionally buried as an essential item. However, researchers cannot confirm this yet. They continue to conduct additional tests to try to provide definitive answers. Hopefully, in the near future, they will uncover the full story behind this mysterious 19th century burial. The Persian princess mummy and the shocking story behind it. The story began in 2000 in Pakistan when police discovered a man in Karachi, the country's largest city, attempting to sell an ancient mummy still in its coffin on the black market for $11 million. Authorities quickly tracked and arrested the man, who then admitted that the mummy came from an Iranian accomplice claiming to have discovered it after an earthquake. The story seemed strange from the start, but it grew even more mysterious as the truth unfolded. During questioning, the man revealed that they had planned to sell the mummy for an astronomical price and split the profits. Pakistani police pressured the mummy dealer to disclose where it had been found, eventually leading them to a location near the Iran-Afghanistan border. The mummy was then taken to the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi for examination and identification. Pakistan has no tradition of mummification, so the sudden discovery of a mummy in the country shocked the archaeological community. Museum experts noted that the mummy had been embalmed in the Egyptian style, wearing a mask and gold crown, along with a chest plate inscribed with the words, "I am the daughter of the great King Xerxes. I am Rodoguni indeed." The wooden coffin was also decorated with what appeared to be cuneiform inscriptions from ancient Persia. Eventually, the mummy was declared to be 2,600 years old, identified as Princess Rodogun, daughter of Persian King Xerxes I, reigned 591 to 465 BCE. The discovery even sparked a diplomatic dispute between Iran and Pakistan, as both countries claimed ownership of the ancient princess. The Iranian government demanded that Pakistan return the mummy, arguing that the Persian royal dynasty was part of Iran's national heritage, and therefore the mummy belonged to Iran. Pakistan initially refused, but Iran pursued the claim, even filing a complaint with UNESCO. To prevent the diplomatic tension from escalating, Pakistan eventually stepped back. Iranian archaeologists and scientists were allowed entry to examine the mummy and collaborate on research. While politicians from both countries debated ownership, forensic archaeologists focused on analyzing the mummy's chemical composition, and experts in literature worked on translating the cuneiform inscriptions. A few weeks later, several inconsistencies were discovered, alarming researchers. They found suspicious traces, including pencil marks, which did not exist in the region until the 18th century, and graphite pencils appeared in Europe only in the 16th century. Analysis of the wooden coffin revealed it was only about 250 years old, far younger than the claimed 2,600 years. This raised serious doubts about the authenticity of the Persian princess mummy. Despite the fake coffin, the Iranian team initially hoped the mummy inside was genuine. They carefully removed the wrappings and discovered, to their shock, that the body was actually that of a young woman murdered in 1996. CT scans, chemical tests, and carbon-14 dating all confirmed that the mummy was a modern forgery. Using the CT data, scientists helped police build a profile of the victim. She was about 4 feet 7 inches tall and around 16 years old at the time of death. Her skull and spine had been bludgeoned, and her internal organs were removed, with the abdominal cavity filled with what police described as a strange powder. Investigators believe the perpetrators killed the young woman and created a fake ancient mummy to sell for money. The body had been embalmed with chemicals and dried over months to appear authentic. Archaeologist Dr. Asma Ibrahim suggested that creating a convincing ancient mummy would have required the knowledge of scholars familiar with anatomy. Another theory is that the victim may have been killed and buried elsewhere first, then later exhumed and mummified. The full truth remains unknown, and the murderers have never been caught. The fake mummy was eventually taken over by the Aidi Foundation, a Pakistani charity providing emergency social services, and was reburied in 2008. 21st century technology discovered in an ancient Roman city. Imagine stepping into a luxurious villa on the shores of the Mediterranean, where sunlight filters through an atrium, illuminating walls adorned with intricate decorations, and the gentle sound of flowing water echoes through the space like a symphony of comfort and refinement. But what makes this place truly extraordinary is not its architecture or art. It's a sophisticated water system so advanced it seems ahead of its time, built over 2,000 years ago. Welcome to Stabiae, the resort city of the ancient Roman elite, where archaeologists from the Pompeii Archaeological Park recently announced a stunning discovery. A villa complex spanning more than 27,000 square feet, equipped with a water supply system comparable to what we might expect in a modern home today. The system included 2 main water pipes connected to a central cistern located in the villa's atrium, the heart of the complex. From there, water was distributed throughout the rooms via an intricate network of pipes fitted with valves similar to modern faucets, allowing precise control of water flow to each area. Public baths, gymnasiums, kitchens, gardens, and even private bedrooms. Moreover, the entire system was designed for easy maintenance, inspection, and replacement, as if it had been created in a completely different era. It's hard to believe that all of this was constructed at least 2,000 years ago, in a city later buried by the catastrophic eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 CE. That tragic event, which shocked the world with the petrified bodies at Pompeii, also froze Stabiae in time, preserving its architectural works and the finest details of Roman daily life. Today, Stabiae, located in the province of Naples, Italy, is less famous than Pompeii, but it was home to Rome's upper class, including emperors like Julius Caesar, Augustus, and Tiberius. They chose the city not only as a retreat, but also as a way to display power, wealth, and advanced civilization. The coastal villas stretched for miles, each symbolizing luxury and top-tier engineering. The discovery of this modern water system adds to the list of Roman achievements that make us reconsider history with amazement. Previously, archaeologists had uncovered stone-paved roads in Pompeii and Herculaneum, capable of draining rainwater efficiently for over 2 millennia. They also found an ancient pedestrian street with roadside fast food stalls, a concept that seems to predate today's digital age by thousands of years. Clearly, the Romans were not only master builders, they also understood the art of living. Public baths, fountains, and open courtyards with underground water cooling systems reveal a society that was sophisticated not only in military and architecture, but also in everyday life. The recent find at the Stabiae Villa is more than a typical archaeological discovery. It is a vivid testament to the civilization of ancient Rome, raising questions. How many other achievements remain hidden? How many ancient cities lie beneath layers of soil and stone, holding secrets that could reshape our understanding of history? Fossil of the oldest known marine predator unearthed. When it comes to hunting in the oceans, most people immediately think of sharks or other prehistoric giants. Yet few would expect that predatory behavior emerged more than 500 million years ago, when Earth was still in its infancy. A recent groundbreaking discovery in England has revealed just that, as scientists uncovered the fossil of a marine predator dating back 560 million years, far older than anything previously imagined. The fossil was excavated in Charnwood Forest, located in Leicestershire, central England. This area is already famous for its Ediacaran-era fossils, from the Precambrian period, when complex life was just beginning to emerge on Earth. The specimen has been identified as a marine predator that lived quietly in the primordial oceans, where oxygen levels were low and environmental conditions were extremely harsh. The research team gave this extraordinary creature a name rich in meaning, Aurora lumina attenboroughi. Aurora lumina, from Latin, means dawn lantern, evoking the image of a glowing organism in the dawn of complex life. Attenborough honors Sir David Attenborough, the legendary British naturalist who has dedicated his life to telling the story of Earth and its creatures. The significance of Aurora lumina attenboroughi is clear. At 560 million years old, it is the oldest known predatory animal, appearing roughly 20 million years earlier than the previous record holder. Scientists believe it represents an early ancestor of the Cnidaria phylum, which today includes jellyfish, sea anemones, and corals, with over 11,000 species primarily living in marine environments. The fossil measures about 8 inches long, clearly imprinted on a slab of sandstone, surrounded by traces of other fossilized organisms. Researchers suggest the area may have been suddenly buried by lava and volcanic ash flowing down an underwater slope. This rapid burial effectively froze a moment in history, preserving the ancient creature for modern discovery. The remains on the slab indicate that Aurora lumina Attenborough had a branched body protected by a continuous skeleton, a crucial feature. Part of the skeleton likely anchored it to the seafloor, though that portion is not visible in the current fossil. Even incomplete, scientists confirm it is the oldest known animal skeleton ever discovered. Aurora lumina used dense tentacles to hunt, lying in wait to capture prey in the primordial oceans. This indicates that, very early on, life had already begun differentiating roles between predator and prey, forming the basis of the first food chains and laying the groundwork for the complex ecosystems we see today. So far, only one fossil of Aurora lumina Attenborough has been found, but scientists believe that elsewhere, in yet-to-be-excavated ancient rock layers, more specimens may await discovery. These could hold vital clues to understanding when and how complex life first began to flourish on Earth. And who knows, other dawn beasts of the ancient oceans may still be quietly telling their stories, waiting for humans to listen. 18th century vampire skeleton and the chilling truth about the disease that terrified a whole era. Amid the old, dirt-covered, mossy graves of Connecticut, archaeologists stumbled upon a chilling story where the line between science and superstition once blurred in terrifying ways. Inside a decayed wooden coffin, they discovered the skeleton of a man with the mysterious inscription JB55 etched nearby. But the truly eerie aspect wasn't the unknown name. It was how the skeleton was arranged, buried in a way unlike any ordinary grave. The skull and long bones of the arms and legs had been detached and stacked neatly atop the chest, forming an image strikingly similar to the skull and crossbones symbol we commonly associate with pirate flags. To modern eyes, this might seem like an odd burial practice, but for people in the 18th century, it was a familiar warning sign of something far more terrifying. They believed the deceased was a vampire. For this reason, the skeleton came to be known by the chilling name Vampire JB55. For years, the true identity of JB55 remained a mystery, until experts from the Silver Spring Health Museum, together with archaeologists and forensic scientists, traced every remaining clue. Their reverse time-of-death investigation revealed a surprising truth. The man once thought to be a vampire was actually a poor farmer named John Barber. The story behind Barber's death is even more tragic than the rumors. In the 18th century, many members of his community died one by one from strange symptoms: pale, bluish skin, rapid weight loss, sunken eyes, receding gums that made teeth appear unusually long, and in some cases, bleeding at the corners of the mouth. To the people of the time, these signs resembled the hallmarks of a blood-sucking creature emerging from the grave. According to DNA analyst Jennifer Higginbotham from the Armed Forces Medical Examiner System, the disease causing these terrifying symptoms is now well understood. It was tuberculosis, one of the deadliest infectious diseases that struck terror for centuries. But in an era when medicine was primitive, no one understood germs or contagion. All they saw were their loved ones wasting away and dying, and they needed an explanation. Vampires, in that context, were the most reasonable answer. For John Barber, tuberculosis had ravaged his body so severely that it left visible marks on his ribs. When he died, fear in the community did not subside. According to the customs of the time, if someone was suspected of becoming a vampire, their body would be exhumed, disarticulated, and reassembled in a special arrangement to seal the evil spirit. In many cases, the vampire's heart would also be removed and burned to prevent them from rising. In Barber's case, scientists believe his heart may have been seriously damaged or already destroyed by disease, leaving no clear trace. After some time, John Barber's body was dug up and arranged according to the vampire ritual. This wasn't mere cruelty. It was the collective fear of a community desperate to protect the living from what they believed was a supernatural threat. Today, with science illuminating the past, JB55's skeleton is no longer a symbol of evil. Instead, it serves as a chilling reminder of a time when disease, ignorance, and fear turned innocent people into monsters in the eyes of their own neighbors. If you had lived in the 18th century and witnessed this, would you have thought differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any other fascinating discoveries. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.